welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How you doing?
Good, thanks, mate. Good. You're back from your holiday, looking. Can't tell if you look tanned.
I look the same as I did before I left. I hid from the sun for a week.
Yeah, it's the best thing to do, isn't it? But yeah, today we're joined by a very special pair of guests. One who is set for his first appearance on Horror Hangout, and the other one is a returning face. Well, we just can't seem to get rid of, but we don't mind. Writer and director Jake West is best known for his feature film work, including his debut, award-winning Razorblade Smile, Evil Aliens, Pumpkinhead, Ashes to Ashes, Doghouse, The ABCs of Death, Midnight Peep Show, plus recently well-received documentary Mancunian Man, The Legendary Life of Cliff Twemlow, which premiered at Fright Fest last month. Welcome to the show, Jake.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to be hanging out with the Horror Hangout.
It sure is. And also, Aaron Truss, an award-winning director and producer known for Knox, the Rob Knox Story, and Cult of VHS, plus the director of short film Pareidolia, which also premiered at Fright Fest. It's a Fright Fest loving. It's a Fright Fest loving this week. Welcome back, Aaron. Hello.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I love this podcast, so why wouldn't I not come back, you know?
You're welcome back. Anytime you want. Just even if you have to force your way in, it's fine. Kick the door down.
Yeah, doesn't sound nice.
You didn't change the password, you just turn up one week.
Just turn up every single week. So yeah, very exciting this week. Thanks for joining us, both of you, and also a great film to have chosen. And of course, one that is very present in your hearts for both of you. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ever present.
Yeah, I mean, Phantasm series is one of my favorite film series. So I love the Phantasm movies. Although Phantasm II is wonderful. It wouldn't be my favorite one, but it's a great film because I love them all.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So would you say your favorite was the original?
Yeah, Phantasm, the original, and then Phantasm 4, Phantasm 2, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. So that's the way I'd go. Ravager doesn't quite feature into the canon for me because it's not Coscarelli.
Oh, okay. It's different director.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, because of course you made Phantasm.
I don't mean to sort of. So I'm sure everyone. I mean, Phantasm 2 is an amazing, fun movie. Like it's balls to the wall, literally.
It's just got. Has it got more budget? That's right, isn't it? It's like a bigger budget.
It's the biggest budget of the Phantasm series because it was Universal who financed it, but it was the lowest budget film that they made that year. So it was just
okay.
Yeah, it was just under $3 million, the budget for this film, which for Don was a huge amount of money because obviously the first Phantasm was made for, like about 650,000. But the first film, it took him over a year to make it, because he was shooting it at weekends and stuff like that. So he would to get the maximum amount of money for their camera hire, if you hired a camera package over the weekend, you would get a 3-day hire on the camera kit. So one day rental, you'd get 3 days. So he'd get it out on Friday, return it on Monday. So they would shoot for 3 days over the weekend. Then he would edit during the week, and then he would go back and shoot again for another 3 days a week or so later. So Phantasm, the first one, was shot in a very kind of independent guerrilla style, where Don did all of he was the cinematographer as well as the writer director. He did everything kind of on that one. His mum made the costumes, and also his dad was a producer. But so it was a real kind of sort of homegrown family effort. And I don't know if you know about his earlier films before that. Like Kenny and Company that he had done, and Danny, the World's Greatest, because that's where he met. That's where he met Angus Scrimm, and Angus Scrimm, the tall man, and Reggie Bannister, and a lot of the actors you see in Phantasm, they're all part of this little stock company that he'd got to in his early films. So there's a little bit of a trivia burst for you on the Phantasm. But Phantasm 2, he then got a lot more money, but it's Don's. He felt it's the most compromised of the Phantasm films, and he said it's the least dreamlike of the Phantasm films because the studio imposed a lot of notes on it and wanted it to be logical and literal. And you can kind of see that there's something a bit less phantasmy about Phantasm 2.
Yeah.
Not that
I definitely felt that.
Yeah. So and that's why, because he didn't make it in quite the same way. And then 3 and 4 were made back in that more kind of indie sort of style.
So 3 and 4 had lower budgets again?
Yeah, well, the lowest budget of all of them was the 4th one, in fact. The 3rd one had an okay-ish budget, but then it never got a cinema release, and he was really upset about that. It just went straight to video back in the day. So that's that's the little kind of potted history of that.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've only ever seen the original, Andy, isn't it? We did cover that on the podcast.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favourites. Actually, I should have brought it in. I've got my original pre-cert VHS of it. I can go grab it later on if you want to see it, which definitely I bought from my video shop. I first saw it when I was about 14 years old in the early 80s, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved it, fell in love with it. And then I found out Don Coscarelli was 18 years old when he made that film. And it's kind of like, wow.
God.
I love hearing these behind the scenes, like how they go about making them. And it's really, I've just watched the 2 back to back because it's been a while since I saw Phantasm. So didn't manage all 4 in one sitting, but I managed to do 1 and 2 back to back. And it's so cool seeing them together almost. And then hearing the journey that the creative team went on and doing it in the family affair that builds up, it shows how they fit together. And you can definitely see, especially now you've told me exactly what it was, how Phantasm II has more studio oversight and I guess studio input into what it looks like as a film. Because you're right, it doesn't have that same, the dreamlike quality. It is a lot more straightforward and linear in what they have. And I think, things that we get, the little narration scenes that we'll no doubt talk about that perhaps would have been absent in the original one, where you were just drifting from one time transition to another.
Yeah, I think that Don had a much better version of Phantasm II that never got seen, because the studio said he had to take out all of the dream logic and nightmare stuff because they wanted it literal. So I've never seen a different version of it, but Don was very much
really dumb.
That he was a bit gutted because he felt it was the most compromised of them, even though he had more money. So, which is that typical thing. And I mean, obviously, we'll get onto the casting, and you guys probably know a little bit about that as well, perhaps, and what happened to him on 2.
I've saved a lot of this, but I knew we had an expert in, Jake, so I know that I was like,
yeah, but
I doing research.
So I mean, you guys lead where you want to go, and I can just throw in some bits and bobs.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm gonna be leaning on you for this one.
It's
I knew I was never going to overcome an actual expert in. So
it's actually a night off for us. It feels like.
Yeah. Welcome to the Horror Hangout with Jake West and his guests Ben and Andy.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but Andy,
I'm fine with that.
As I was saying to Ben earlier, though, even though nobody knows everything about everything, it's just obviously I was very lucky because I got to meet Don and make a documentary about the Phantasm films. So that's but it's been a long time since I did it. It was 2005 that we did that, so it's quite a long time ago. But Phantasm is just stuff that I love. So I can't remember everyone's names and some of the locations and stuff like
that. That's fine. No pressure to have perfect recall on these things. The title gives it away. We're here to hang out. We'll chat about what's going on, what people enjoy, because that's what I love to hear about people's experience with these films. I mean, we could dive into this later, but as we're talking Phantasm up top here as a general series, what are both of your feelings on why we've seen so much in reboots and reimaginings of a lot of these beloved series? Sometimes the original creators, sometimes not. What do you feel that Phantasm's future is? Do you think it's going to happen? Would you like it to happen?
We discussed this last night, didn't we, Jake? We were saying, is it a possibility? And I think you did tell me that they have tried to bring Phantasm back.
Yeah, but they have tried numerous times. Obviously, the big break that never happened for Phantasm was when, after Roger Avary, who co-wrote Pulp Fiction with Quentin Tarantino, after they won the Oscar for Best Screenplay with Pulp Fiction. As Don says, basically Roger Avary had the keys. He had the keys to Disneyland. He could basically say, "This is what I'm going to do next, and it's going to be amazing." But he said he kind of blew his chance a bit because he said to the studios, "What I really want to do is make the ultimate Phantasm film," and he wrote a film called Phantasm 1999, or Phantasm's End, as it was called at that point, and that was going to be a massive budget Phantasm movie that was going to take place, in 1999. It was going to be Bruce Campbell was going to be in it as a kind of super soldier kind of guy. It was a kind of super ramped up thing where you saw all of these towns that have been ravaged by the tall man. There is a script of it. If you go online, you can probably find it. Phantasm 99, no, Phantasm's End. The Avery things. It never was produced in the end, but it's a fascinating read. So that never happened, and that's when then Don went back and he did Phantasm 4 because he wanted to make another Phantasm film. So he did that on a very low budget, which, as I said, was the lowest budget of the series of all of them in the end, the fourth one. And you know, but actually, also, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but because he shot the original Phantasm for such a long time, what's amazing about Phantasm 4 is that there was loads of material that in Phantasm that was never used, and some of that material is reinstated in Phantasm 4 Oblivion, including one of the most fantastic sequences, the hanging tree sequence, which is superb. And that was originally shot. So it's got seamless transitions between him as a kid and him, you know, Michael Baldwin, who's back in it by then.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. So, you know, that's as a Phantasm fan, then that is something, you know, which is a beautiful thing.
I love the fact that Phantasm Oblivion has got the Roman numerals for 4 within the word Oblivion as well, which is that's just
you love
great.
to see it.
You love to see it. Are you,
But,
Aaron? Are you a fairly new fan of the franchise? Then, would you say, or have you always been a big fan of?
I'm still on my journey because Phantasm. I don't know how I discovered Phantasm, but it was before I met Jake, and I remember. I think it was 2020. I think I properly watched Phantasm, and I watched it on Halloween, and I remember it blowing my mind and just thinking this is one of the best horror films ever, and I had no one to share it with, which was a shame because I was, you know, my girlfriend, she doesn't watch horror movies or anything like that, but when I watched it, I loved the soundtrack, the tall man. There were shots that really creeped me out even as an adult watching it, like the tall man picking up the coffin and putting it in the hearse by himself, and all these little things.
One-handed, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It was under his arm, I think, as well. It was kind of like it was nothing. Like, guy was going to get a hernia, but he didn't. And
Angus Scrimm doesn't get hernias.
He does not. No, and of course that's why we, my dad and I, wrote a little nod to Phantasm in Paradolia, which is the Scrimm cottage where the events take place in the film, and has nothing to do with Jake. Just putting that out there. Jake didn't have anything to do with that. But it was.
I immediately knew the reference, obviously, because it was like, you know, I was like Phantasm reference, but I don't think anyone else picked up on it particularly.
I love when you get the reference and you feel like no one else has. You do that thing where you look around like that, just going, "What? Just me? Just me?"
Well, the thing is, when I saw it, I was with Aaron, so we both chuckled at the same point. So I knew that he knew, but I didn't realise that he hadn't seen all of the Phantasm films. So I've been saying to him, we'll watch 3. He needs to see 3 and 4, and then he can watch my documentary then, because
Phantasmagoria. Yeah. It's been an ongoing thing now. Every time, like we've gone for a drink or something like that, and we'll say, "Yeah, I'll see you later." Yeah. Oh, by the way, we'll watch Phantasm 3 soon, and we never bloody do. We've gone back one film to do this podcast, so we have to do 3.
This is the ramp up. This is the ramp up. This will be the springboard you need to get to watch Phantasm 3. It's going to be, for me, I'm going to watch. I'm a big sucker for, once I've started doing a series. I've done it for better or worse with Howling. I bailed out of Underworld. I haven't been able to do more of those. But Phantasm, I think 3 and 4, quick succession now.
Oh, Phantasm is great. This is it's such a fun series. You know, it's such a wonderful, you know, what Don did with the Phantasm films, which is different to a lot of other horror films. And if you meet Don, you'll find it's in him. He's completely unpretentious. He's giant of a guy. He's taller than Angus Scrimm, Don Coscarelli. He's about 6 foot.
Real tall man.
I mean, he's
the taller man.
The taller man. Yeah, I mean, Angus Scrimm in real life he's gone now, bless him. He was like 6'4". So in the original film, Don, he actually got built up shoes. They did lifts in his shoes to get him up to about 6'6", 6'8". In 6 foot 7 in this, but Don Coscarelli himself is actually like 6'7", 6'8" in real life. It's
like picking up Angus Scrimm like a little baby.
He's a big guy. He's got huge curly hair and a beard, and he's like a kind of Wookiee. You know, But Don is such a lovely person. The thing about Don, when you're with him, he's got such a great temperament. And he's completely unpretentious. And I think the thing that you get in Phantasm films, despite there being a lot of weirdness and strangeness, there's nothing pretentious about it. And the characters are really kind of like beautifully drawn, and they're very much like Don himself in many ways, particularly like the character of Reggie, you know, the guy, the ice cream, you know, middle-aged bald ice cream guy who goes to the fires of hell itself to lay his life down for a friend, you know. And there's something really beautiful. There's something really beautiful about that kind of character, which is you won't find that in any other kind of movie, really. And
Reggie's one of the best characters ever created.
Amazing character, the Reg Man, which comes into play in Phantasm II, where he evolves into the action hero, which is, you know, so, you know, in the first film, he's just an ice cream, you know, he's an ice cream slinger and he's a singer, you know, except, you know, the songs that he wrote for Phantasm, which he recorded live, and they're all in the deleted scenes of Phantasm. All of his stuff got cut out. It was only Jodie, you know, Jodie's character, Bill Thornbury, who got his song in Sitting Here at Midnight when they did the Jet on the Thing, which is, you know, once again another.
Played by Reggie Bannister as well. So do you reckon?
Reggie's they're jamming on that doorstep, and they kind of, you know, that's all played live at the time, but they just, but you know, they kind of did that on the day, and it's great. I mean, I love that. It's a wonderful moment.
So Jake, how did you come to make the Phantasmagoria documentary? Then obviously it was involved in sort of additional scenes for the DVD release, wasn't it?
Yes, by sheer luck. Because myself and Mark Morris, we'd set up Nucleus Films, and we released stuff as well, you know, cult films or DVD and Blu-ray. But we were doing a lot of DVD extras for other companies. One of them, which was Anchor Bay UK at the time, which was run by a brilliant guy called Mo Claridge and his wife Liz Claridge, and they were just fantastic. Now, Mo Claridge was one of the first. He was the first UK distributor, one of the first to release Phantasm on video back in the day. So he licensed Phantasm off Don, like personally, and he met him, and he did such a good job with it in the UK that him and Don became really firm friends. And Phantasm was a big hit for him, which made him very successful in the video industry in the early days. You know, so he always felt, you know, he always felt like a lot of love towards Don because Phantasm had been a success for both of them. So down the line, we just happened to be in the offices. I think we've been doing stuff maybe for the Evil Dead set at the time, some extras, and it just happened that we heard that they were doing something for Phantasm, and we were a bit late to the party on it. But literally, I said, you know, Mark Morris, he knows it's one of my favourite films. He said to Mo, "Oh, do you know that Phantasm's one of Jake's like favourite films of all time?" And of course he didn't. And then he said, "Well, we're doing this. Do you guys want to pitch something to do a documentary?" So we pitched this idea that we would do like a big piece about the whole Phantasms 1 to 4 if we could get access to the people. And because he knew Don, we ended up flying out to Los Angeles. Don was our personal driver. Don would drive us to go and see, you know, Reggie Bannister and Angus Scrimm and
like a dream come true.
Michael A. Baldwin, you know, all of these guys. So we got to meet all of them. You know, the lady in lavender, which is. What's her name? So my brain is going a bit fuzzy. The lady who plays Lady in Lavender. Yeah. So, but yeah, we got to meet all of my kind of Phantasm heroes and interview them about some of my favourite film series. So that was just, and this sphere here, you know.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, Cassie Lester Jake. Yeah, Cassie Lester Jake.
Yeah, this was the limit. This is the Anchor Bay release, the limited edition set.
How did I not know it was going to have DVDs in it? For some reason, I had no idea when you opened it. Then
it's got a brain in it, like in the film. So it's it was a beautiful bit of packaging. One of the best I've ever seen.
I mean, it's lovely for perfectionists who love their Blu-ray and DVD spines to line up. Is an absolute nightmare. But as a collector's piece,
it did come in a little presentation box. But Mo did this amazing low budget, sort of packaging for, you know, he won loads of awards for a lot of his packaging. Like he did the Book of the Dead edition on the Evil Dead as well, if you remember that, and all sorts of fun. He did all sorts of really fun stuff. He's a lovely bloke. So he was really behind it, and he put us in touch with Don. So we ended up flying out to LA and doing that documentary. So that was a rare treat as a filmmaker to actually get to interview somebody who's a genuine hero of yours and turns out to be like a super nice beautiful bloke, you know. So
gentle giant.
Yeah. So when he came back to the UK doing, it was quite a few years ago now, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Don't if you remember they did the London Film Festival, did the 4K restoration of Phantasm at the Picture House Central. And me and Mark were with Don at that screening, and we met up beforehand and hung out with him, and it was just great. So cool. You know, he's such a good guy.
You do realise though that with, you know, obviously Angus Scrimm, the tall man, bad. Don, the taller man, good. This implies the existence of the tallest man. I guess is neutral. Just true neutral. Flips a coin for everything.
In real life, I mean, Angus Scrimm is an absolute sweetheart. He was such a nice guy, such a gentle person. You know, his real name is Rory Guy, by the way, just in case you didn't know
Rory
that.
Guy.
Rory Guy. Yeah.
Rory Guy.
Angus
that's what he was credited in Danny the World's Greatest, and I think you know, Don's other film beforehand. But when Don said, "I want you to play this kind of intergalactic grave robber, the tall man," he was thinking, "My name, Rory Guy, doesn't sound like a horror. It doesn't sound like a horror guy." You know, he thought he needed a name that sounded more like a kind of Lugosi or something that sounded like a horror name. So he came up with Angus Scrimm, and then that just stuck. I mean,
that's specifically his horror acting name.
Well, yeah, but then he used it.
Stuck.
But then again, most of the time, he then got offered a lot of horror parts because of his success as creating a kind of iconic, you know, he created an iconic horror character, which is very unusual. And, you know, he wasn't a young man when he did that either. I mean, as you look through the series, he gets pretty old by the end of it.
Yeah. Well, he's born in 1926.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was an absolute gentleman. And he came from a different era. He was a very, you know, like a very kind of civilized and erudite gentleman, actually. And he loved in once again, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen Phantasm 4, but he gets to play a dual role in Phantasm 4. Yeah, cover your ears. And when he plays the character of Jebediah in that, he gets to play it completely. He completes it completely the opposite to the tall man in terms of his intent. And it's a really beautiful performance, and you can see how good Angus is as an actor.
It's an origin story for the tall man, isn't it?
Yeah, because obviously for him, the tall man, in many ways, he found playing the tall man quite easy because he didn't have to do much for the tall man. He was always saying, I don't really have to. Yeah, boy, and then just looks and kind of his strange.
More like selfie faces. Boy.
Can you imagine if Angus Scrimm was around in the TikTok era? Can you imagine what those reels would be like now?
I'd love it.
But what do you guys think of the tall man? Because as a character, he's a fascinating, strange character, right?
I have a really unusual, I've definitely bored Ben with this before, but a Phantasm and then understanding who the tall man was origin story. So it would have been sort of 97, 98 it would have been at this time. So I'm a teenager, and as I was wont to do at the time, I was up late playing some computer games. I was playing some custom maps from Duke Nukem 3D. You know, you download these maps off the internet, which people have made. You know, they look like your school or your house or these things. But as part of it, whatever they had done had also imported a number of sounds that were unconnected to the sounds of the original game. So I was there just casually playing away, a game I used to play every evening until stupid o'clock. And then all of a sudden, I'm there wandering around, got my headphones on and everything like that because it's late at night. And then a really unfamiliar sound comes booming straight into my ears, a high, louder volume than the actual SFX of the game I was playing. And it's his line from towards the end of the original Phantasm, the tall man's line where he goes, "You play a good game, boy, but the game is over. Now you must..." And I was like, holy shit me, like absolutely cat my back. It was terrifying because like
that's brilliant.
No concept of where this sound had come from. It wasn't something from the game. I didn't know what it was from a film, so I'd never seen Phantasm, so I couldn't be like, oh, it's that line from the film. And terrifying. I may be overdoing it now. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure I stopped playing. I was like, no, bed, it's over. And then it took for a long time, like, you know, because, you know, it's like back end of the 90s, there was internet, but there wasn't like, I'm pretty sure those levels came from like a disc that I'd got from someone, not readily downloading stuff. So there wasn't IMDb. I couldn't find out. I couldn't type in a line from a film and see what it was. It was only from like years and years of like asking people, do you know, is this line from a film? And like repeating it until someone goes, oh, that's from, it's probably friend of the show, my friend Danny Taylor, because he's a big Phantasm fan. I think it was probably him that told me, oh, that's from Phantasm. And only from there did I get to go and watch this film. And then actually seeing the Tall Man from there, what an iconic character, and one that hasn't been so overplayed as some of the others that, you know, I mean, I'll never get enough of, you know, your Jasons and your Freddys and so on, but he hasn't had that kind of exposure. And I love that there's still you know, there's only a limited amount of things that you can see him in. You're never going to get overdone on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a great introduction.
You took me back to the 90s there, and with the modding of games and stuff. And I have a very similar experience to you, but it's not as cool as yours. I remember playing. Everyone here remembers Doom 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the mods you could do and sound effects you could add in. I know there was a Doctor Who one you could do where it was a sonic screwdriver or whatever. But some guy, for some reason, decided to turn all the gunshot sound effects into Tim Allen's from Home Improvement. It's not as cool, but just on the back of your Scrimm experience.
Yeah.
I had a Tim Allen gun, you know, for Doom.
You should have had a tall man gun. Boy.
Every time.
It would never, ever get old. Okay. So before we jump into talking about Phantasm 2 at great length, despite the fact we've kind of done that a little bit already, let's talk a little bit of horror news. A couple of two little bits that I've got to discuss, because both pieces of news relate to Horror Hangout alumni, friends of the show, and original host, Mr. Luke Condor as well, because the George A. Romero Foundation have announced a podcast called The Dead, which is set in George A. Romero's world of Night of the Living Dead, and of everybody involved, writers including Hannah Schooner, Nick Harkins, Jeremy Ellett, C.K. Anderson, and Luke Condor with a K. He's going to be writing a story set in that universe, which is super, super exciting for us, of course, because we know him. We could pick his brains. We could say, well, maybe he'll be the director for Twilight of the Dead, which we spoke about last week on the show. How exciting! I'm excited. Are you excited, Andy?
Very.
That's it.
I can't overstate.
Add to that. Won't add to that.
I don't want to make it seem false by being uncharacteristically over the top about this. I'm not from the United States, Ben. I've said what I mean.
I'm very excited. So that's awesome.
Yeah, good game, boy.
Tim Allen sound effect count 2.
Phantasm improvement.
The other piece of news is that at MCM Comic-Con, Janine Pipe and Neil Marshall will be there talking about their journey Janine's journey from fan to filmmaker, and how she's collaborated with Neil on Footsteps and Sausages, the making of Dog Soldiers. So yeah, they're going to be at MCM Comic-Con Friday the 27th of October, which is super, super exciting. Thought we should give that a shout out as well.
Definitely should. I got another couple of bits, Ben, unless you've got any more news.
That's all I've got. That's all I've got. Jump on in.
Me. There's some more stuff coming up, because if it's failed to escape, if it has escaped your attention, we are getting ever so close to the spooky season. Getting all that content that's coming out in October is starting to ramp up and come at us pretty quick. And some stuff that has completely slipped my mind or fallen below the radar. We obviously know things like the Exorcist series that we've got. Exorcist sequel that we've got coming up. But we have another trailer for horror adjacent monster movie, another trailer for Godzilla -1, which I'm incredibly excited for. I think that's close to the end of the year that we're getting that, but having really enjoyed Shin Godzilla, there's a new trailer for that. Set just post World War II. It's not a Shin Godzilla sequel, it's set in that time. So it's basically a Japan already devastated by atomic bombs. And then you think, we're absolute zero. What's worse than zero? Tell you what, -1. Godzilla's going to come and fuck up the things that are already fucked. So I'm really looking forward to that. We have a trailer for Mike Flanagan's latest Netflix series, which obviously gains a lot of traction around this time of year. Have you seen the trailer for the Fall of the House of Usher?
I have, yes. Yeah.
What are you thinking? Are you in for it? Do you enjoy the Flanagan series, Jake?
I do. Yeah, I really like Mike Flanagan stuff. I think he's terrific. So I'm really looking forward to that. And once again, it's got a great cast in there of a lot of his regulars that he uses. A bit like Don Coscarelli, but he likes having an ensemble of people that he goes back to. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks terrific. So I'm excited by that for sure.
I'm really enjoying. I'm really getting into the fact. I didn't know that that's what he was doing when he went on to the second series. So so from Hill House onto the one I'm now blanking on. Yeah, that's it, Bly Manor. But now that's well established. I love kind of watching out for who is going to be what, and this person hasn't turned up in the trailers yet. Who are they? Who's his wife going to be? Yeah, I'm really looking for. I think just from the trailer alone, I don't need to see any more trailers at this point. I'm done.
I agree. I think now I just want to see it. But I think because it looks like it's a really big story. What's good about that trailer is you can't really connect the dots. Often with a lot of trailers, particularly with feature films, they do tend to put a lot of the really great stuff in the trailer, and it sort of ruins the surprise for the film. You kind of they tend to over-trail key points, I think, sometimes.
But then when you've got 10, 12 hours of content
exactly,
rather
you've
than
got a lot
90
more material,
minutes.
So you can play around with the images a lot more without giving away. Besides, I don't really understand what the plot is from that trailer, so that's good as well. And I don't, obviously it's a reimagining of the House of Usher story. But it looks like it's being done in a more modern way than I've ever seen it done as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this, and I have high hopes. I think I didn't quite finish the Midnight Club because I know just before I'd seen it, I knew the second series had already been cancelled thanks to Netflix. But yeah, I was a big fan of Midnight Mass. Really loved Hill House. Bly Manor, I know that was a very different thing. If you don't think of it as a straight horror, more of a gothic romance, still really effective. So I'm really, really excited for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Midnight Mass was skewing towards more the kind of young adult audience as well, to be honest. So it was based on, I think, a series of books. So it felt like it was skewing a bit younger. So for me, it wasn't quite so much my bag, but definitely, Haunting Hill House is the best so far.
Really, I still get a lot of Salem's Lot vibes from Midnight Mass. I'm still trying to get my nan to watch it under the pretense that it's about church. But it hasn't happened yet.
It's about church. You like that?
This is a great church series.
Mass. You're a big fan of the Lord, right?
The Lord, yeah. Who's Arnold?
Is that it for news?
I got two more for you, Ben. One,
bloody hell.
The good folks at Disney Plus, not to be outdone by Netflix, only crept another Goosebumps series out in October.
Oh my god!
It looks like.
Oh wait, I saw a poster for this. Justin Long.
Yeah, Justin Long. Recognised him under those glasses.
Yeah.
And he's been doing well. Justin Long's always had a hand in horror, but he seems to be skewing more and more towards that as his career has gone on, right? Becoming almost a horror exclusive, and he's been in a lot over the last couple of years. So yeah, Jake's talking about things skewing younger. I don't know anymore what age Goosebumps is going to be geared towards. I've not seen a trailer yet. Is it going to be geared at young adult stuff now, or is it going to be people who watched Goosebumps 20 years ago that they're
Has anybody ever gone back to Goosebumps?
I did. I mean, I used to love the books, and I think that was one of the things, other than Doctor Who Target novels, I think Goosebumps books were the ones that, because they were for kids. And I remember Say Cheese and Die, and there was a lot. What was the one with the ooze or whatever? I'd one of the volumes, and
it's Monster Blood, or is it
Monster Blood or something like that? And
Purple
the
Peanut
front
Butter
was
or something
squelchy.
like that. It's madness.
Yeah, but of course they had the TV show, so you'd read the books in school, and then you'd be trading them at every school fete, and you'd be looking for all the Goosebumps, going, "Oh, have I got that one? Have I got that one?" And I think they released a Goosebumps 2000 range. So I was a massive nerd into that, and I think they hit at the right time. And then the kids, I mean, I did go back because there were certain episodes I wanted to check out, like Say Cheese and Die for me. Terrified me as a kid. And what was the one with the gnomes?
Haunted Mask for me. That was the one
where she becomes a monster. Yeah,
I remember that one.
And it's got is it Ryan Gosling that's in?
Ryan Gosling is in Say Cheese and Die. Surprising, he's like 12 or something like that, but they still freaked me out as a kid. I remember Fox Kids used to show Goosebumps and Erie, Indiana back to back.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember
Indiana.
Erie, Indiana.
Big fan.
Classic 80s show.
That was like, I feel like that was, for the time it was and the age I was that coming up, Erie, Indiana was like my entry drug to the X-Files coming out just as I was old enough for that.
Your gateway drug to the X-Files.
Just finished, Erie, Indiana just, petered off on the telly, and then it was like, oh, there's this new thing, it's called the X-Files. You like this, right? Try something a little bit
recently celebrated 30th anniversary as well, X-Files, which is absolutely mad.
Fantastic. Yeah.
We should probably do some sort of episode about our favorite X-Files episodes as well, shouldn't we, Andy?
Should. I might have to go back because it's all available on Disney Plus now as well.
Disney Plus, yeah, you can watch them all on Disney Plus.
Yeah, all you need is a right number of hours in the day to be able to get through all this endless content.
What was the last piece of news you had?
Last thing I had, just a bit of local horror news. Then coming up to
local horror news.
Local horror news for me up north here. The good folks at the DCA in Dundee have announced their lineup for Dundead in October. So some classics coming up there. Well, I'll give you the link. You can share it in the show notes. Some of the things that you would have been able to catch had you been lucky enough to be in London for Fright Fest. They're doing the screening of the unseen version of The Exorcist, but they've also got some independent films coming up. They're doing a screening of Battle Royale, which, thriller, action, dystopia, less direct horror, but still one of my absolute favourites. They've got some good screenings on, so if you are up on the correct coast of Scotland and you want to come and join us for some of that, I might try and be down there myself, see if John Crennan's around, see if we can catch a few of those live.
And talking of film festivals, you're going on tour as well, aren't you, Jake?
Yes.
Mancunian Man is officially going on tour.
It's officially doing on tour. Yeah, the festival, the world premiere kicked off at Fright Fest, which you guys were at, which was amazing. Yeah, Empire Leicester Square. That was the start of the festival run. So next week on Thursday, I'm off to Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas. So we're going to be playing at the brilliant Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, which is fantastic. Wow. I don't know if you guys have ever been to an Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, but the way the cinema is kind of set up, it's got like rows, and in front of you, you've got like a not a desk, but a bit like in a lecture hall. But it's all tiered very high, so you can order drinks and food, and they'll bring it into you, but they don't walk in front of anyone's face. But they can set it in front of you, so you've got like a kind of table there. Wow. So halfway through the film, you can order yourself a beer and stuff. It's brilliant.
So anyone from Cineworld or View or Odeon, please take note, because that sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way that the whole cinema set. It's just set up in a completely different way, but it's a real experience if you haven't done anything like that before. And then after Fantastic Fest, I'm off to Beyond Fest, which is in Los Angeles, and it's playing at the Los Feliz Free, and that is another amazing festival. It's got some fantastic stuff on if you go on the website. That's over about 2 weeks, and we're playing there. And then when I come back from there, we're heading to some other festivals, but they haven't announced. I told you earlier that some of them, but they actually haven't announced their official lineups yet, so I can't officially tell you. Actually, I think Sitges have. I'm going to be going to Sitges in Spain. They have announced theirs. It's going to be playing on the 12th of October in Sitges in Spain. So if you're in Spain, get yourself down.
I asked you this at Fright Fest, but what would Cliff Twemlow think of all this stuff? His face on the Alamo Drafthouse and being played at all these festivals as well.
Yeah, well, I think him sort of playing at the IMAX, the Empire Leicester Square, which is one of the biggest screens in the entire world. I think he would probably burst into laughter and probably think, yeah, that makes sense. Like 40, sort of 30 years after I've died.
Yeah.
These films shot on video finally got down to all these cinemas. So if you see the Twemlow story, he's one of those characters where I think he would enjoy the kind of delicious irony of that, because he was a sort of DIY filmmaker making stuff with his mates in Manchester. You would never have thought it would have gone this far, but his character, he was always shooting for the moon. I mean, he kind of missed spectacularly, but he was always kind of going for that. And so I think he would be, really, really pleased.
This is why I really love what you did with the documentary and so on. Like, I can tell when I've really enjoyed any type of documentary about a filmmaker or a conversation with someone, because my Letterboxd watch list just grows and grows exponentially. So just seeing some of these things that I'd never encountered before from that career that he had. Like you say, building
never got released properly, so that's why you can find
some of these are going to become like rare things. I will have finished everything on a streaming service, and then it'll be right. This is down me at like car boots, and going through like I've become one of those people that go to those like container auctions to get like these hidden reels.
Well, with the internet, I mean, it's kind of like everything is kind of available instantly now. Apart from Cliff Twemlow films, if you like the quest of the 1980s, like going around video shops and scouring places to try and find stuff and sending off tapes to people and getting them to record things for you and send them back, trying to watch Cliff Twemlow films is still a bit like that. They're really difficult to find. Obviously, that is going to be remedied soon because Severin is going to be doing a special set, details of which I can't tell you everything yet.
Wow, okay.
That will be announced fairly soon, exactly what's going to be on that. So the wait for a lot of people will be over, and you'll finally be able to see a lot of those films. So that's going to be an amazing thing. But
I feel like already our show notes are probably going to get the most action they've seen in a long time, because people are going to want to get you on the socials, Jake, and also look out for all these things wherever you are in the world. I'm sure might have one or two American listeners that don't find us incomprehensible and don't understand a word we're saying. If you are an American or just happen to live in America, do check out these festivals if you're able to attend.
Oh yeah, well, do you have a big international audience? Do you have people in the States watching this?
We've got. I think I don't want to say the majority of people who listen to us in America, but I think it's a big percentage.
Hey, well, then in that case, if anyone is in Austin my film is playing, next, I think it's on what day is it playing? Is it on the 25th? I think 24th. I think it's on the 24th. It's playing in the evening. It's playing again in a couple of mornings after that, and then it's playing at the Beyond Fest in Los Angeles on the 29th. So if you're in Austin or LA, it's down there. But also, if you're just a horror film fan, I mean, those festivals are amazing. If you go online and check out their programs, they're incredible. Talking of Mike Flanagan, for instance, at Austin, they're playing episodes 1 and 2 ahead of their broadcast. So
are they?
So I'm very tempted to see if I can get a ticket to go and watch those and just to see them on the big screen, which would be amazing. So there's all sorts of, but sometimes, people like Mike Flanagan might even pop up there. He might be there. So I'm kind of quite excited. You never know who you're going to bump into in the American ones.
I mean, now we've done Fright Fest, but I'm never going to be giving up on that. You'll see me there year on year, guaranteed, unless they ban me for, crimes. But
generic crimes, crimes,
generic crimes.
Generic crimes. Been watching loads of romantic comedies.
Well, I wasn't worried because I was a little bit worried because as we walked past one of you guys were in London, it was quite a hot spot for people doing some preaching just outside the cinema, and as we walked past one of the preachers, he said, Don't go imagining the Lord as really small. And I never have imagined the Lord as like a little diminutive creature until he said that. And then I did. The second he did that.
Is he one of the dwarves from Phantasm?
He put that thought into your mind that he could be small. Yeah.
He's done that.
He could be a Phantasm dwarf.
Exactly. And if the
Leaping out of the cupboard,
which allegedly he can do, doesn't even need a subscription. He could be listening anyway. Now he knows I've been thinking about him in a way that I was specifically told not. You might ban me from Fright Fest unless that happens.
Well, you're banned from heaven, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
You'd be a terrible Ghostbuster. What just popped into your head? And then tiny Jesus comes out of nowhere.
Well, it kind of, when you see that kind of hellfire of preaching going on, it does sort of make you want to quote the tall man back at him. You think when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
Maybe this is a plan for next year. We could turn them against each other.
Fight. There was a moment where someone did hand me a flyer, so I handed them a pareidolia leaflet in return.
Fair trade.
Just exchange them. Yeah. Come see my film. I'll go see your Lord.
And Aaron, pareidolia, you've got a screen. Is it on the 16th of October? Is that right?
16th of October. Yeah. We've been banned from Sitges and Fantastic. No, I'm joking. We're doing the cast and crew screening in the Phoenix Arts Club, which is being hosted by Stuart of Misty Moon. We're going to have Diane Franklin there. The whole cast are going to be there. It's going to be autograph signing. performance of the actual soundtrack by the band Infraviolet as well, which is great. And then we're going to be opening up the Festival of Fantastic Films in Manchester. And then we're going to be doing Dark Side later in the year as well, which we're really excited for. And we have a few more lined up as well, but we were not able to confirm just yet. Oh, and we're also doing the Ealing Film Festival, which is where I went to university. So we're kind of going back to my roots, as it were. So that's going to be a nice thing. Yeah, it's going to be a homecoming.
Will see you and be like, boy.
Exactly, yeah. I'll be being chased by spheres all through Ealing and Acton, which I can't wait for.
That's why I left Ealing. Budget for spheres these days.
There's always budget for spheres.
There is.
That's protected.
Use the DVD box set on a bit of fishing wire. That's all we need.
Yeah, so that point, when I'm not banned from any festivals we're not banned from for any reasons, Lord-based or otherwise, after having that taste of doing a lot of live broadcasting at Fright Fest, I want to go to as many as we can, Ben. Like international, I'd go to Texas.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, you guys will love the going to some of these different festivals, and because each different festivals have different style of audience as well. So the American audience is a bit more vocal than the British audience. So if they get into a film, they get really into it. So
doing some cross culture. Shh, can I watch the film?
No, but if you're seeing a really fun film, say something like Phantasm II, and you've got Reggie Bannister saying we're going to go kick some ass, the audience will cheer in the States. That would be the difference. In the UK, there would be.
Imagine it's like the opening of Scream 2 when they go see Stab, and the whole audience is just erupting all over.
I'd walk straight out. I'd walk in. I'd go, not for me.
I would have to go
back to the early morning screening.
British for me. I can't have this sort of behavior.
What? Pip Cheerio.
11 I would love to find out the director's cut of Scream 2 that initial murder of Jada Pinkett Smith was just one British person who's unconnected to the rest of the murders. You're just so wound up from being at that screen. She was just incredibly frustrated. And then when he heard that guy her boyfriend listening at the wall, he can't even get a minute's peace in the toilet.
All I ever remember is the scary movie bit of that, where someone's penis
I always get that mixed up with the glory hole and stuff. The penis goes in his ear.
Glory hole. Can't help myself.
All I remember is that's every film though. All I remember is that glory hole.
Okay, so I guess we should quickly do. Let's quickly do what we've been watching. I've only got a couple of things, but I think I've got one thing that maybe Jake and Aaron have seen as well. One Missed Call, is that right?
Oh yeah, Jake and I watched One Missed Call the other day. Yeah, Takashi Miike.
It's not recent. It's about 2003, isn't it?
No. Recently we watched it.
We recently watched it. Yes.
Yeah. Remember?
Yeah, but we recently sort of Talk to Me, which I think was my favourite thing that I've seen recently.
Oh yeah,
we loved that. Talk to Me was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, One Missed Call. I think looking back at it, it's got an interesting idea, but it didn't quite work for me watching it again. Yeah. It's very confusing.
Am I misremembering? Is One Missed Call? It is an Asian film first, right? Then
there's an Asian film. Remake. Then there was American remake in like 2008.
I've only seen the Takashi Miike one.
Yeah, me too.
Which I think,
it was a little bit different because obviously Takashi Miike, he'd never really made anything that you would consider in that sort of spooky J horror.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
That is the
wow.
Yeah, because me and Aaron actually watched this the other week, so we were doing a little curse film.
I mean, it's
sorry, I just got to jump in here for the people listening on Spotify. Audio description: Jake holds up a clamshell of Japanese One Missed Call.
This is like the episode with Kev as well. Every film we mention, you've got a copy of it. He has a copy in arm's reach.
Well,
like you say that, and
I could have bought all sorts of Phantasm bits if I'd thought about that beforehand. But
Jake's actually got the novel of the novelization of Phantasm as well, which he showed me.
Very rare, which was done by his mother, Don's mother was a novelist.
This sounds brilliant.
Kate Coscarelli, and she did a novelisation of it, and it's got some stuff in it that's not in the film. It's great.
It's very rare that I come away with a reading list from one of our episodes.
When you're chatting about something else, I'll nip and get it and show it to you. It's in a dinky format as well. It's very nice.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
But it's so strange though. Imagine like making a really cool. It's like my mum doing the novel of Pareidolia or something and adding bits in and go, "What have you done here, Mum?" Oh. Don't worry, they're gonna love it. Don't worry, they're gonna.
The mythology needed fleshing out a bit. Okay.
Well,
What?
I don't know if it's so much he added bits in, but there's bits in there which obviously it's different. It's just differently formatted to the script. But I think there's some stuff in the script which obviously never made it through to the final edit. But so it's really fascinating just to read it from the perspective as.
I love that it's a family affair though, because his dad produced it and his mum did the novelization,
his dad was the producer,
and she did the costumes as well, right? So
yeah, she did costumes, she did makeup. She
made Angus Scrimm's massive suit.
Sorry.
Did she make the tall man's massive suit?
She did make the suits as well. Yes, she tailored.
To think what that inside leg was. Jesus.
Yeah. She was. She was a multi-talented lady herself. I mean, Don was very lucky that he came from a family incredibly supportive of him as a filmmaker. And
I was going to say.
And Don, like I say, because he was so tall, people I think thought he was older because he had a big beard. But he was, like I say, he was a teenager when he made. It already made two films before Phantasm.
All right, mate. God, you made 2 films. God, you've been around the block a bit, haven't you? You must have had a tough paper round. 18.
People, other filmmakers assuming that he is just 3 small boys in a suit in like a big long coat.
There was always that guy
the Coscarellis.
There was always that guy in school who had a beard, inexplicably had a full beard. Who was that guy?
It was for cans down at Kangs. So with this as well, now I'm just imagining that his mom was the novelization, doing loads of mom inserts into it, and as he's reading the novelization back of his film, why is the tall man sitting Reggie down and asking when he's going to settle down and bring him some grandchildren? Are you sure this is what it's what the character would want, Don?
I know the character better than you.
To be fair, I do think she stayed true to the spirit of Phantasm. It's very much based on it. But funnily enough, she was actually a successful novelist herself, and she did write more kind of romantic style books, just as a sort of segue for maybe Aaron's girlfriend who doesn't like horror films and won't watch Phantasm. She might become a Kate Coscarelli fan if she starts reading her literature.
I really think you're trying too hard there, Jake. I don't think anything is going to convince Alice to get into horror at all.
No, I'm saying, but she could read Kate Coscarelli's books, which are
right.
Output. That's what
you're trying to do the gateway drug thing, like I like this.
She could start, and then she'll get tempted to try Phantasm.
I really don't think she will. Jake's quest to convert my girlfriend into horror. It's quite funny. It's never going to happen. I've tried.
Well, I managed to do that with a couple of girlfriends who said they hated horror beforehand, and I managed to kind of drip feed them the right things. And in the end, it wasn't that they didn't like horror; it's just that they had never watched horror films, and then they didn't really appreciate.
Never watched the right horror film, not the right one.
Never watched the right horror film.
Yeah, but also, but the genres are very wide. It's a very wide genre. There's so many different types. There's a lot of people who think of horror as just one thing that they don't like maybe a kind of extreme kind of like torture porn or something like that. But if you watch a film like Phantasm, it's charming and it's fun and it's about these 2 brothers and it's got a lot of heart. So it's a completely different type of storyline,
Yeah, definitely.
Jake's case for it's actually a story about 2 brothers, and I'm just remembering the door slam with the fingers and opening the box and all this.
Yeah, but come on, the scene. Sorry, we're in Phantasm 1 again, but the scene with the insect and the big fly thing. It's one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen.
Down the stairs.
Yeah.
Phantasm 2, you could argue, is a safety film. It's about making sure that you check that the gas is off.
Oh yeah,
just to avoid your house exploding in the biggest explosion of all time.
Just quickly bend down and blow the pilot light out so you can explode your house.
Okay, another little bit of interesting Phantasm II trivia. Phantasm II trivia moment. As you know, there's anyone who's watched it knows there's some monumentally big explosions in that film. But when his house was blown up, that was a house that they bought for it was on a redevelopment near a freeway, and it was going to be demolished. So they bought this house for something like $1 or something, and then they built a second. It was literally just a it was just a single floor bungalow, but they built the second floor on it. So they constructed it, and then they blew it up in what is a phenomenal piece of explosive work, actually.
Yeah.
It's one of the best house blow-ups I've ever seen in a film. And there's two, you get two. You get Reggie's house and the other house, and then you get the car. But that second house with the two-story one, they built that extra. That's
where the budget went. Explosions budget.
Yeah.
Where did the money go?
If they got the house for $1, though, I mean, it didn't cost that much.
Yeah. No. Sorry, so one missed call. I thought it was pretty creepy. I like the technology-based scares. I don't really understand the ending though. You said that, Aaron. What's going on with the ending? I don't really
so Jake and I watched it, and it sort of progressively got a little more complicated, and the rules of the curse got complicated, we found. And then by the end of it, I think she's become the girl, and he wakes up in a hospital bed and she puts a sweet in his mouth, and we all have different skies. And then Jake and I just looked at each other and went, what the fuck did we just watch?
Quite good effects though. I think for like a scary ghosty thing, it was.
There were really good moments in it that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, there's some amazing sequences and bits, but the actual story is really hard to understand watching it again. Because it sort of starts off as a curse film with this thing about messages from the future, but then it kind of seems to ignore that and turns into something else.
Then it goes into like a sort of TV show type thing about the curse, and then it kind of forgets all of that as well. Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, there was no repercussions from that. I know we're not talking about one missed call for this podcast, but I personally wasn't sure if it was a cultural thing, if we didn't understand, like, are we not meant to, but someone Japanese or whatever who was into this kind of thing, if this is the kind of storytelling they would do across various mediums or whatever, is it just something that we're not accustomed to? But then
not quite attuned to.
Yeah, and I thought of a lot of other J horror stuff, and I just thought, well, I'm not
relationship with
sure.
like spirits and ghosts and things like that.
Sorry, that makes sense.
As soon as you're talking about the rules and everything like that, and obviously the concept of one missed call, imagine the idea of you be cursed by missing a phone call today. I've sat and watched my phone miss a call. Now I've just gone on to a tangent, and if I was quiet for a moment there, Ben, it's because I was imagining if you could have a curse movie set in the era of phone hacking, where a tabloid editor phone hacks someone and they get the curse passed on to them instead, and that's a way to do it. I mean, I would pay money to watch Piers Morgan get J-horrored.
Get J-horrored.
He's only got to be J-horrored again.
It's been J-horrored. Basically, someone's come out of one of your electronic devices and made you go wibbly wobbly to death.
You've heard it here first from Andy's mouth. You've been J-horrid.
You've been J-horrid.
He's only got J-horrid.
A lot of pills come out of one piece of technology that you own. Might be your phone, might be a tablet, might be
coming at your toaster, your oven, everywhere. Long-haired girls everywhere.
She starts coming at your toaster, you just put it back down.
But then 5 more minutes.
Uno card. J-horrid.
J-horrid.
Andy, have you got anything on what you've been watching? Just been holidaying, haven't you?
On the oddities, so I only had chance. I did my double bill of Phantasm 1 and 2, and inspired a little bit by films such as Pareidolia, I've been digging into a few horror shorts, because that's easy to catch up on. I watched 2008's Bedfellows, just a short horror film. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. It won a few awards at the time. It's just about a woman who she doesn't miss the call, she answers it. She receives a call in the night and has to reach over her sleeping boyfriend to
I've
receive
seen
the call.
One, yeah.
And then it's him on the phone saying, "Oh, bloody hell, I nipped out for a walk and I'm locked out. Couldn't come and let us in, could you?" And then obviously the figure in bed with her is not her
who's in
boyfriend.
bed with her then?
Oh, it's a scary man. Be careful.
Yeah, the payoff in that is actually, it still gives me goosebumps when I see the ending of that film.
He's got the figure in the bed has got like if you've seen American Werewolf in London, the time where he turns into him in the bed and he does the big eyes. Not the bit where his family gets horrifically murdered by Nazis. The other horrifying bit of that film
in the bed
when he pulls his big wolfy face. There's that one, and then I started not the full series, but the shorts that would go on to become a full series of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which is good.
Oh, I've not seen that.
They're all on YouTube. So the shorts that would become the series of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which is like very sort of Sesame Street, joyous little puppets doing songs that as it goes on, sort of devolves into horrendous, bloody body horror, and it's like nightmarish visuals.
I'll have to check this
and
out.
The first one is a little sort of felt flip book singing a song about creativity that then just becomes these puppets smeared in gore by the end. And now has given me my new catchphrase: green is not a creative color. But yeah, there we go. It's worth watching, all on YouTube.
Just to add to your list, Andy, if you're still into your horror shorts, there's a couple that I want to recommend to you.
Go on,
I would love to hear what you. So there's one that I've shown Jake, which I absolutely love. It's called The 10 Steps, and it's an Irish short film about a young girl who has to fix the circuit breaker in her house when the lights go off. But it's in the basement, and there's been ghost stories about what happened in the basement many years ago. And the whole film is just about her going down the stairs with her dad, you know, sort of reassuring her at a company luncheon or whatever. And it's absolutely fantastic. I remember watching it on I think it was BBC Two at like 3 a.m. once when I was ill at school, and it was just, they were just showing horror shorts, and I couldn't go back to bed. I had tonsillitis at the time, but I certainly wasn't going to go back to bed after watching that one. That one's on YouTube.
That sounds great.
And the other one, which was actually used as inspiration for Pareidolia, was Portrait of God, and that's a fantastic short. I'm not going to say anything about that one at all, but we were inspired by that one.
Oh, I'm going to check both this out possibly before bed tonight, even.
Please do. And I want to hear the next podcast, your thoughts on those two films.
My thoughts on those ones. Just confirm one thing for me there, Aaron, because I'm already in trouble for this. In the Portrait of God, no one has imagined him as a small little creature, have they? Because that's forbidden, unfortunately. I'm already
right. Yeah, it starts with a guy handing out flyers and talking about how, you know, don't pick, and then some guy from some podcast walks along and pictures it, and then all shit breaks loose.
Classic.
Cursed.
I'll have to draw.
Horrid.
I'll have to draw. I've been G horrid, God horrid.
Talking of
horrid.
Talking of God horror, I did also watch The Nun 2.
Okay. Classic God horror.
What's the verdict?
The verdict is it's definitely a more well-rounded experience than the original, which I thought was just really didn't enjoy it, especially as like an origin film. It's got a couple of really good.
Definitely a nun.
It was. There was definitely.
Do you have a proper
origin
on for Bad Nun Valak now, or is it
Not
still?
Really, I think the origin. I think the origin is there's a demon that just turned up at a monastery and decided to look like a nun to blend in. I guess that's it. That's it. There's a couple
I'm never
of good,
gonna fit in here as a demon at a nunnery. They're never gonna accept me. I know.
I just don't think it. I still don't think it makes
Sister
the most
Act prequel.
What is a very a very scary looking and main antagonist. I just don't think it still makes the most of it. It's still just she pops up now and again, but most of the time as other things. So I don't know. It's all right. I would give it. So it's directed by Michael Chavez, who I think did The Conjuring, The Devil That Made Me Do It. So it definitely feels like part of that Conjuring universe, whereas the original one felt like just a period piece separate to it. Worth a watch if you enjoy.
Do you get any of the Warrens in it, just having their normal lives at home?
Of course you bloody do.
Oh,
of course you get like a sorry, it's a bit of a spoiler, but of course there's an end credit sequence where I don't know, someone just answers the phone and goes,
the Warrens get a phone call. Making sure they don't get J horrid, not missing calls. Thank goodness.
Hello.
How big is God?
Shall we?
He's massive, all right. Thanks.
He's the biggest bloke I've ever seen. He's 6'4" or 7.
Is he that bigger than the nun?
Is he taller than the taller man?
He is the tallest man.
There you go. You've redeemed yourself. You're going to heaven now.
Thank goodness.
Shall we talk about Phantasm II? We haven't mentioned it yet.
We should.
So Phantasm II, which is a 1988 American science fiction fantasy action horror film. Wow. The sequel to Phantasm, written and directed by Don Coscarelli. Stars Angus Scrimm, James LeGros, is that you say his name? Reggie Bannister. So the film. Mike, now released from a psychiatric hospital, meets with Reggie, discovers his dreams, the events of the original film, are real, and they both journey to find and stop the evil tool man from his grim work. His Angus Scrimm work. It's got 6.4 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, 38% critic score, 57% audience score, 3.2 on Letterboxd. And here are some choice reviews. Julie Norwood says, an amazing sequel complete with all the bells and whistles, bigger and better than the original in every way imaginable. 5 stars. Look at that. Jason Alley says, an incredibly ambitious, major studio-funded sequel to the awesomely weird original. 3.5 stars. Someone whose username is just Feck says, the one with the most explosions. Some new chump playing Mike, and Reggie as a chainsaw-wielding, Bruce Campbell-esque action hunk. 4 stars. And finally, Keith says, Reggie is way too horny for this movie. 4 stars.
Yeah.
He's only the second horniest person in it.
He does get pretty much dry humped, right? Someone's got pants on when
he gets head humped.
It's the Phantasm film where he does get a little bit of action, unlike the others. where he's in desperate pursuit.
Maybe put that in his contract.
It has got one of the funniest sex scenes in any film in it.
And one of the funniest chainsaw battles of any film as well.
That was another, mine's bigger than yours moment.
Yeah.
Years later, Resident Evil 7 would go on to Pinch.
That was watching it. Yeah. Chainsaw fight. Okay, so it's obviously Angus Scrimm as the tall man, James LeGros, Mike Pearson. The younger version of Mike does appear for the opening scene. Although one bit is from the original, isn't it? And then it kind of immediately takes over from
then
the
Mike
end of that
fades
film
out and gets more pronounced cheekbones. That time in psychiatric ward's done wonders for him.
Yeah, but basically, the reason that James LeGros is in that film is because the studio wouldn't allow him to have Michael A. Baldwin and Reggie Bannister together. They said you've got to have a younger, hotter actor. But so the pressure was more on the Mike character than the Reggie character. But he had to pick kind of one, and he felt terrible about it. So, but in a very interesting piece of kind of trivia casting, a certain Brad Pitt lost the role to James LeGros.
Yeah, I did hear about this.
Yeah, so Brad Pitt did an audition for it. He did a tape for it, which I've asked Don. He's got it somewhere, but he couldn't find it when we were doing it. So I'd love to see it. But there's a young Brad Pitt, and he didn't get the role. He got turned down for James LeGros.
I don't think you're good looking enough, mate. James LeGros just walked in. He's absolutely
he's fucking banging, isn't he?
I don't know. You put Brad Pitt up against Reggie Bannister, and it's too hot. This movie's too hot all of a sudden.
Yeah,
but
that'd be too much.
Grimm said, that he always thought that you could, if any actor ever felt like they were being a little bit hard done by, been passed over, he said, well, I got cast in Phantasm and Brad Pitt didn't. So he kind of he could see that as a positive. So yeah. So once again, that was that studio control thing though that Don had to put up with. He couldn't. He wanted to use Michael A. Baldwin to carry on the character from the first film, but instead you ended up with a completely different looking Mike with a very different kind of vibe to him. And that's why
it's supposed to be 7 years later when the main sort of part of the film kicks off.
And there's a gap between these films, right? So released is it 9 years?
It was actually 9 years later in reality, because they shot the original one in about they started in about 1977 or 78, and when they were shooting Phantasm II, it was about 9 years on, or when it got released, so something like that. So it's a big gap between the two films, but you kind of knew that it wasn't the same bloke. It wasn't the same Michael. and I do think that the connection between the two guys isn't as good as it was, But then again, you haven't got the Jodie character in it, the brother character in Phantasm II.
It's like that third part. And then I guess that's where we pick up the film, right? Because the first 5 minutes or so of this film is kind of giving us a new context on the end of the first one. So the first Phantasm, spoilers for both of these films, I guess, as we're about to talk them, but also spoilers for the past episode of Horror Hangout where they covered it. The original Phantasm kind of ends with I guess the end of Nightmare on Elm Street is very Phantasm, because the Phantasm is an older movie, with basically things being repositioned as a dream, things that have happened, because we see as the course of Phantasm 1, we see Reggie die, stabbed by the lady in lavender who was the tall man all along. He had a big stabby knife who gets him, and then the events are resolved. We wake up, and then Reggie is the one that has survived. He's talking about how he's had some nightmares, and then our hero is slurped off out a window by the Tallman. And then this is retconned in the opening we have here. We kind of go back to that scene, sort of narrated by another character who's sort of going through the course of events and how they're connected. And then we see that bit where they're being attacked replayed with some additional context, right?
Yeah. I mean, you've also got the scene with the psychiatrist as well, where you've got the the Mike character, James LeGros, being, basically saying what the psychiatrist wants to hear, and then you hear his faults going, bollocks to all of this. I know.
I don't really
tell him what he wants to hear.
I'm not sorry.
So, which is that kind of psychiatry scene that you also see in like Fright Night 2. They have pretty virtually the same scene as that, but you don't have the internal voiceover. But it is quite funny when James LeGros character walks out the psychiatrist and he goes, "It's like bollocks, bullshit." A bit like warning shots.
Warning shots of bullshit.
just do that blow.
If you point a gun at the man, you've got to be prepared to take him down.
And this is where we get the first of our two explosions. Love, this bit where the little creepers, the little tiny people that are off trying to get our heroes, they do allow Reggie to escape up the chimney, having blown the pilot light out.
He does like a John McClane going up the chimney. I know, rather than chimney, it was the air vent, but still does a
laundry chute.
Or is it a laundry chute? I think it's a laundry chute.
Ah, right. Okay.
Guys, you're all wrong. No, because Phantasm II came out before Die Hard, so John McClane did a Reggie Bannister, and we just didn't know.
John McClane did a Reggie Bannister. Nightmare on Elm Street did a Phantasm.
Oh, no, Nightmare on Elm Street was very influenced by Phantasm, because the guys at New Line wanted to make a film like Phantasm, because Phantasm was a big success, and it played around with that dream nightmare space, and that was something that New Line really was inspired by, and they wanted that. And it's actually New Line that picked up the rights to Phantasm, and we're going to do the Remax. So going back to a much earlier question, but in the end, it never got off the ground. But it was New Line who was supposed to do it, and they were going to do a new trilogy. But for whatever reasons, it just has never happened. But
there are even some
any number of alternate universes where Freddy and the Tallman have sparred and done a few rounds.
Tallman.
There are even some effects in this which look a bit Freddy, don't they? Like that bit where that thing comes out of her back.
Yeah, that is very go if you go east if you dare.
Oh, the reverse quarto that comes out that girl's back.
Reverse quarto.
Oh wow.
So he goes up the laundry chute, and then the house, but Angus Scrimm, the Tallman, is outside the house. He's a badass. He doesn't look back at that explosion. Doesn't give it a glance. Doesn't even have a little peep over his shoulder.
He knows you can. He knows it's dangerous. He'll lose his eyebrows.
Doesn't even do like a comical dive. He's just standing there at probably the exact right distance away. And then this is when we go to the.
I love the bit when he's playing guitar. There's a bit when he's playing guitar, just like gang, 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 and then he went, "Oh, what? Someone's attacking Mike upstairs."
Guys, just so you know, though, just to draw back in our Nightmare on Elm Street parallel into this, the lead makeup effects guy on Phantasm II was Mark Shostrom, and he did all the designs for Evil Dead 2, and he also did the makeup for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. So he was involved in that.
That's the best.
And part of his crew on Phantasm II makeup was Howard Berger and Greg Nicotero, who then went on to form K&B. They're the K and the N of K&B. So that's so that Nightmare on Elm Street thing is very much Shostrom had worked on.
Very much present, isn't it?
Yeah. And Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors came out the year before, so it's possible that if Puppet might even been of something that he could use, possibly.
There's a little Freddie marionette in number 3.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that they might have repurposed from his shop, but you'd have to ask him. But there is a link between Phantasm 2 and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 with the makeup designer.
That's fascinating.
I feel like we're uncovering this, that Phantasm, the series, is like the center of the web for all of this cinema.
center of the world.
Not getting the credit it deserves. I'd love to do like a sort of horror and other films like Die Hard. Family man crawls through bed, a bit like in Phantasm. All these things come back to
Phantasm. But Phantasm was Don was ahead of the curve on a lot of these things. You know, he had the balls to do it first.
Steel knifed ones. Yeah.
You were saying about the house blowing up. Sorry, because it leads actually to like. Actually, no. I'll hold this one back until the second explosion. So
it comes up pretty quick because the second that our main guy has become a different actor after doing. Thank goodness, actually, for their final escape from the house where it blows up. Thank goodness this is in a pre-double glazing era. Can you imagine? Thankfully, that's only a single pane and like a couple of batons to throw yourself and a child head first out of before your house explodes.
Oh, yeah.
If they'd have to like, take a run up at that, yeah, I've got a concussion and I've been exploded. But yeah, as soon as our lad's out of the asylum, he's straight down the graveyard saying, "There's nobody bodies here."
It's a totally normal thing to do. So
you do normally is you nip down the graveyard and dig up a couple of coffins
just to see that there are no bodies.
I mean, that's the third one he's tried as well, so he's been busy.
Exactly, yeah, they make a good point of that. And then of course, like Reggie turns up, and of course, I knew I'd find you here. Of course, yeah, in the graveyard.
What did you pick me up? I was getting released from an asylum today.
Yeah, it's why did he pick him up? No, he knew he'd catch him at the graveyard. That's why he saved the trip. It's closer. But that's where Reggie comes out with one of my favorite lines of the movie, where he's trying to convince him about the tall man. He's like, "The tall man? That story about me blowing up my own house because it was infested with midgets."
It's when he says midgets, I feel like he knows he's infested with midgets.
Infested with midgets. And I'm thinking, you can't say that shit. That's terrible.
You can't say infested. You have to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But remember, this was in 1988, so that wasn't an issue for them, for the Reggie Bannister of the 88 period. But
and for the midgets of the 80s as well.
Yeah. Well, Ed Gale, who plays the lead dwarf creature, Ed Gale, we interviewed him as well when we did the documentary. He's brilliant, and he played Howard the Duck for George Lucas, and he was telling
my god
about that as well. So
amazing. That is two Howard the Duck references in as many podcast episodes. Yeah. Last week we had Will Robson, and who's drawing the comic for Howard the Duck.
Oh, so yeah,
that's just linking our shows together.
Yeah, so the lead dwarf in Phantasm II, the featured main dwarf with the main hero makeup, that is Ed Gale. That is Howard the Duck. That dwarf. There you go.
Wow.
maybe an upcoming bonus episode, Ben, in our ongoing series of terrifying creature features. We'll do Howard the Duck.
And he not only
nice.
Yeah, he also played. I think he played Chucky as well. Or he got turned down for Chucky because he was too tall. Actually, I think he might have lost out to Chucky. He wasn't quite short enough, actually, and he was a bit upset by that. I think that was the case.
It's just like the sweet spot that he needed to be
in. There was, but he was.
Hang on a minute.
He was good enough for a dwarf and Howard the Duck, but I think he was too tall for Chucky.
Yeah, too tall for a little wee.
You guys are going to have to cover Howard the Duck now. You realise that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Howard the Duck is pretty terrifying. Those eyes, human eyes,
the human eyes, and
some sort of like
sexual relationship, explicit sexual relationship, and I would argue, it's a Lovecraftian cosmic horror. Because those things that take over people's bodies come from other dimensions.
Yeah, that's right.
I think if I got you on board with Congo and we all agreed that Dunstan checks in as a horror thriller, then I think Howard the Duck's easy. It's no lift.
It's a no-brainer. Okay, so Mike pretty much faked his recovery to get released. That's what he said to.
Yeah, he had his fingers crossed the whole time. He was like,
he had his fingers crossed the whole time. He had like a peep show monologue going on in his head.
Yeah. It's like, say it's all fine. Yeah.
And what's the first thing you do when you get released? Oh, no one's going to be monitoring me at all. I'm on my way to dig up some bloody graves. All right.
Well, you were so convincing.
But remember, though, that Reggie does kind of get worried for him. But if he gets caught digging up a grave, he's going to get into trouble and be sent back. So that
that was one of the rules of his release.
There's a light coming towards him in the background. Quick, get out of here! If you get caught, you're going to be sent back to the asylum.
You could argue. I think Mike had. If you could have a plan there and say, look, what jobs am I going to get as a recently released insane person? Of course, I'm digging graves. These graves are empty because they need to be filled. I'm just doing a community service here. No,
in the night shift.
Reggie is worried for him, and he goes, "Come on, let's go back for dinner at my house." Actually, not just my direct family, but all my extended family are over.
Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Nothing is going to go wrong.
As soon as he said that, it was like, oh dear.
Well, even your cousin, yeah. What about your cousin's kids?
I've been reunited. I've been reunited with people who live in Australia. I hadn't seen them for years. Cilla Black on Surprise Surprise has got them over. It's absolutely brilliant.
Honestly,
never seen them before.
If there's
the dog and the fish and the cat and the turtle, the lizard,
everyone. Even someone who is like friends with your mom, who you call auntie, even though you're not related to, she's over. Your next door neighbours from the house you lived in when you were a kid, moved years
and
ago.
We're cooking with gas.
Cooking with gas? No.
And then, unfortunately, Mike gets one of the least helpful types of precognition. One that comes to you 8 seconds before it happens.
Awful. Absolutely awful. Oh, I've had a premonition. That's all right. I'll be able to save him now. No.
Tallman's put the gas on. He sends him a little vision. He goes, "Hey up." He's like, "Psst, Mike. Yeah, hello. Yeah, it's Tallman here. Guess what? I'm at your mate Reggie's house. I'm just whacking the gas on." It's like, fucking hell, quick, get him out of the house. He hasn't got a mobile phone. It's 1988. You can't get him out of the house. They're exploded instantly.
Exactly. Tallman's like, you've been J-horrid.
You've got to realise how strong that those American gas jets are in those ovens, because that filled the entire house within like 30 seconds or so to get the size of that explosion for that appliance is remarkable as well, isn't it?
You could leave the gas.
Imagine if there had been some explosives in that house. I mean, that's just a gas explosion that did that.
Unbelievable.
The Tallman has set the burners to basically smithereens your house.
One hell of a turkey.
His entire family have been Judgment Day, blasted to atoms. And
it'd be brilliant if the explosion happened and then you just hear like 2 seconds later you just hear the egg timer go off. Dinner's ready.
Or there's like a microwavable fish pie that's still cold in the middle.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, always is.
It's still frozen. You might have poisoned. Sorry, I've done it.
I must say, as a filmmaker, though, I mean, when you get a chance to blow stuff up, you do really want to go big. And what I love about what Don does in this film, he really goes for it. It's like, I'm making an action movie. I'm going to do fucking huge explosions. So,
what is the biggest explosion you've done, Jake? So that sounds like a personal
for
question.
Me, the biggest explosion I've done, when I blew up the toy shop in Doghouse, and then I blew up a hotel window with Doug Bradley being thrown out of it in Pumpkinhead, Ashes to Ashes. But I've only blown up a toy shop at the moment, and I did a flamethrower in my ABCs of Death, but it's not really an explosion. We did set something a monster on fire. So yeah, I've got to blow up something bigger than the toy shop.
Yeah, the next film.
Yeah, so
blow up a neighborhood.
Filmmakers, it is great when you do get to blow shit up. I mean, that is nuts.
Yeah, it is.
And I can see Don, he really went for it, and as he did with some of the stunt car stuff, particularly in Phantasm III, that the hearse flip, I think, is one of the longest car stunt flips of all time. It's about over 100 foot, that flip. And it's on a pipe ramp. Bob Ivy's the stunt driver. It's Phantasm III, the hearse. That car flip is incredible. It's absolutely insane, that one. Sorry.
See, I love a series like this, like a series like Phantasm going, really swinging for the fences on like it's pyro work and it's stunt work and its effects as like to make an action movie. You're not messing about with this and dialing back on it. I think so much with genre cinema is about doing what you can with the budget you have and what you're able to show, especially practically, what can you do? And I've got all the love in the world for doing work with scale models and all those other things.
Oh yeah.
But when you get an opportunity, as you say, Jake, to do it big and just, if you bought a house for $1, which in 1988 exchange rates is probably about 50p.
yeah.
Like that is less than Charlie Bucket, a notable fictional poor child, was able to buy a chocolate bar for, and you bought an entire house for that.
That's because the house was being destroyed anyway, and it was they were building a freeway.
You can't keep it. I'm going to build a road here tomorrow. It's all right. Don't worry. Save your job.
No, but you've got to call that a great bit of producing though on their part to be able to find this house.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually, building the second story was the thing that cost them all the money, because obviously that was actually a bit of a build, and then but actually buying a property for that amount of money is brilliant. You've got to love that, because.
But Andy, you can't say that, Andy, because you can't compare Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie Bucket's situation to Don Coscarelli buying a house for $1 when Charlie Bucket hasn't got like the best sort of living situation going on. I kind of feel like that's a really unfair comparison.
But you could say that the dwarves are the tall man's Oompa
Loompas. I think there's a big parallel to play here, actually, Aaron. I think this is more connected than you think.
Really? So we're going to connect Charlie Bucket and the Oompa Loompas to Phantasm.
I just looked as well, and actually Ed Girl did play Chucky in the first Chucky film. He did
exactly.
Yeah. So he was tall enough.
He was the exact right height to be Chucky. But yeah, these things are connected. I mean, Jake, you can tell us, are there, in the ongoing Phantasm series, are there any kids that get stuck in pipes, kids that watch too much television, or someone that swells up like a big balloon?
Well, Lord of the Dead, the third one, is very much Don says it's like Home Alone on steroids, he calls it. So it's got your Home Alone gags in there, and a lot of like kind of deadly traps inside this house that this kid has set up, because he wanted to return to having a younger kid in the series in the third one, like the young Mike in the second one. So if the Home Alone fans, Phantasm 3 is the one.
Oh wow.
That's what I want to watch at Christmas.
Not so much,
definitely.
Not so much the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory thing, though, to be fair. But certainly there is that, because obviously the first film had the young kid, and a lot of younger kids have always liked the Phantasm series, and the third one had that younger kid in it again as well. So it was kind of a gateway entry to people at a certain age, if that was one of the early films that they saw, I think. So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has got lots of horror elements, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's great.
The kids are dead.
Who cares? They were fucking horrible anyway.
Yeah, they were mean
chocolate
kids.
For the rest of us.
It's only sad when a nice kid dies in an industrial accident.
I've always seen the little creatures in Phantasm because let's face it, Disney Plus are doing all these prequels to Star Wars and stuff. I think this is where the Jawas come from in Star Wars. I think,
but Star Wars was made before Phantasm, so Don was influenced by the Jawas. That look for Phantasm.
You know what, Jake? I'm sick of your facts and getting them right. You've been taking over this podcast. Let's just all agree Star Wars came first because I saw it first.
That's how it works.
I'm sorry, it's just your timeline doesn't work out for that argument. That's all. But
So basically, the Jawas, the tall man's helpers, and the Oompa Loompas are one and the same, effectively.
Well, I don't think we can. You could draw that parallel if you like.
I'm going to give me a couple of days to put together the fact that the tall man is Willy Wonka, and in the upcoming Timothy Chalamet like Wonka prequel, that if there might be some barrels in the background that he might be using to compress Oompa Loompas with, make them from the bodies of victims. Have we ever seen a full grave in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory universe? Tell me this. I
think in the Charlie and the Chocolate universe, the tall man is a bit like when Tim Burton did. He showed Charlie's dad, didn't he? And he had him the dentist played by Christopher Lee. So that's kind of like the tall man of the cinematic universe of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
The Wonka.
So Wonka is the tall man's son. instead of compressing people to go to a weird sort of Total Recall Mars and mill about on that thing there. He just gets them to run a chocolate factory.
To be honest, though, when they're in
when they go through teeth as well, too much chocolate. Sorry.
When he goes through the portal, and he comes out of the barrel, one of the little creatures comes out. He does look like chocolate. He looks like he's been like resting in caramel for a bit. He's all drippy and
he's been submerged in it while, so he's also
gone submerged in chocolate. They see there's chocolate in the barrel. Yeah, there you go.
That's it. Chocolate in the barrel. That's a great phrase. Chocolate in the barrel.
Look like Andy's theory has some weight to it after all. Well, when I see Don again, I'll ask him about that and ask him if he was influenced by Charlie and Chocolate Factory.
You see, this is all coming together. I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's a lot of film podcasts and horror podcasts out there. They talk about theories, they talk about, real film school BS, but I challenge you to find another podcast that's drawn these parallels. You won't find one. Don't even bother looking. This stuff,
this is the one.
Yeah,
this gets the origin, the source of it all.
Yeah, I'm sure there are words on this podcast that we have said that have never been used in the same combinations ever.
When the big funeral happens next, does Reggie get a discount for like burying all his family at the same time? I'm sure, because he'd be absolutely ruined, wouldn't he? He'd be ruined with the costs. There's no mention of that. He'd be crippled.
I mean, I reckon the insurance would be trying to wheedle out of that one. No. I think you'll find that we are, you're covered for a normal amount of people that would be in your house. We're not covering you for having. I'll pay out for up to 4 of your family members' untimely deaths, but you're not getting the rest.
Yeah, but that's why he blew up his house. He had to claim the house insurance.
I'm surprised he didn't blow up the funeral. But it's bury your family for a £5. Just borrowing the Sainsbury's feed your family for a £5 there. I was just like, oh God. But you look at the coffins and I don't know if you noticed this, Jake, but they're all different coffins, and the one on the end that's white looks quite shit. Like, it's almost like we've run out of money for Reggie's family. It's just, I'll just put him in a white box.
That was the family friend.
Really well, we're not paying for their coffin too. Just
that's not fair.
I've got a shoebox. It's just use that.
That's like Uncle Knobhead that you only see at Christmas. Like, I'm not getting mahogany for this dickhead.
I'm not mahogany for this dickhead.
Bit of quick Reggie Bannister trivia. In the funeral in the first film, in Phantasm, the priest at the graveside service is Reggie Bannister's father. If you look at him, he looks very similar to Reggie as well. Just a bit of trivia for you as well. Back to Phantasm II.
That's great. I love how much of a family affair this series was.
It's great.
So
the funeral.
So the funeral happens. They're in lovely black suits with sunglasses, proper Men in Black vibes. And basically, Reggie is now convinced by Mike. Reggie's a badass now. Mike's convinced him, look, all that stuff wasn't a dream. It was all real. And now we got to go and find the tool man and fuck him up. So they break into a hardware store, and basically this is like a big tooling up.
Oh, here we go, Jake. Jake and I had a bit of a thing about this because to me it just reminded me of Dale's supermarket sweep.
Yeah, we were kind of adding up the prices of all
supermarkets
he was taking and putting in the car, and compared to the amount of money he leaves at the end in the till,
they
$3.
They definitely didn't pay enough. Like they even paid him $2, $20, or $200, but there's at least a grand's worth of stuff in there.
It was, we accommodated for 1988 prices.
Yeah, but even at 1998 prices, if you look what they were taking, I mean, it was like it was a lot of shit.
Yeah, I told you what
flamethrower.
Well, I'll tell you what I've learned from this scene. It's dead easy to make flamethrowers.
Yes.
Or double shotgun.
It's like a quadruple shotgun, isn't it? Oh, wait, yeah.
It's quadruple
barrel.
Yes,
double barreled shotgun.
Yeah.
Double trouble, yeah.
Yeah. So basically,
every time that they would pick something out, Jake would be like, "Bullets, $4."
Yeah,
he's like,
$4.99. Pack of 12. Shotgun bullets, $7.99. Chainsaw, $24.99.
Inflatable. You get the inflatable bonus one.
Well, the thing is, remember, they're taking they're taking items like guns as well. You know, they're not. You know, so definitely the amount of dollars is hilarious. That bit of money in the till, but so, you know, they're good guys and they want to pay, but they're definitely not paying full price on that.
No, that's almost like an insult. He might as well have just done that at the end of it. Like, here, we had money, but not enough.
Yeah. Oh, it's like leaving 1p as a tip or something like that. So, oh no, I know you're supposed to tip. I'm not cheap. I'm just saying fuck you. Maybe there could have been, you know, not to give expert filmmakers notes here, we could have not have anything to nitpick here if when we had a little scene of the family watching telly before they were exploded in that gas explosion with a local hardware store owner saying, "Come on down, my prices are crazy. all you can fit in your car for just $3." They'd be like, "How's he staying in business?"
I can imagine that. Yeah, I can imagine what Reggie would like for Christmas. Double shotgun. That's what I'm going to get him for. Boom! And it's explosion.
Double shotgun. But has anyone ever made a quad shotgun? Madness.
I haven't seen Phantasm 3 and 4, so.
Well, the double shotgun returns in 4, that's for sure.
They can't. He left it behind. Spoilers.
Yeah, but he's made another one. Spoilers.
Reggie. He went back to the hardware store.
It doesn't take him long to knock these things up, as you can see from that sequence. I mean, they're pretty efficient at creating flamethrowers and quad shotguns. I mean, it's a 30-second montage job.
Yeah, I mean, even with the magic of YouTube videos, which can technically help me do anything these days, not sure I could make a flamethrower just with the parts available in a hardware store.
Yeah, but this is America.
It's not just a flamethrower; it's also for lighting your fire, as you see later in the film.
It's
a fire which is a brilliant little moment, I think.
Yeah, he didn't set fire to the rug or anything like that.
No, but once again, the great thing about Phantasm II is it just cracks on with these things. It's not going to spend 10 minutes showing you how to make stuff. And you know, Don's really efficient with his scenes, and he gets the narrative moving. But we don't want ages of Mike having to convince Reggie that he's got to go in with him, and he's not mad. He just accepts it, and then Reg starts becoming an action hero, which is
the second his family have exploded, he's immediately on board.
Yeah, and I think once again the real great sort of heart of the Phantasm II thing is because in the first film, Reg was nothing like an action hero, and this amusing idea of turning the guy who's least likely to be an action hero in the world into an action hero is that character of Reg. And like I say, this idea of him becoming the Reg Man, as they called him as the series went on, it's this idea that he developed this character. And I think that, you know, you can clearly see they were having a load of fun with that. And I think that's why Reggie became a lot of people's favourite character, a lot of fans' favourite character in the series in the end.
Yeah, certainly.
He is so funny as well. I mean, his reactions are priceless.
This is my big evolution from, especially watching the two back to back. Yeah, my experience with Reggie from the first film, he's a very different character, or you know, for the most part, that we see in this film now, and I really love what he becomes.
Yeah.
In this second film. And speaking of things that Phantasm went on to influence, actually, no, check the dates. I feel like this section now, Jake, you have to pull this for us, but you know, when they're on the trail of the Tallmen, they're going around, they break into like a mausoleum in an old graveyard in a town. And for me, this is Aliens that we get here. They're like going through these dark corridors, they're kitted up, they've got, you know, he's got the welding mask down, they've got flamethrowers, and they're going through.
Well, I think Aliens was already out, actually. I think it was out in '86, wasn't it? Aliens.
I'm guessing Ridley saw the Phantasm script and was like, right, I'm having this. I can be in production quicker.
Yeah, so if anything, once again, Don may well have been influenced by Aliens, in fact, for that imagery, possibly because Aliens was a couple of years before.
But yeah, this was it gave me big Aliens vibes.
Yeah,
through these corridors.
I'm sure Don would have loved that. I mean, I love the bit when they're going into the cemetery with all of the empty graves, and they're just weaving around the graveyard, you know, and they're tooled up and going in. It's a lovely shot, and it does have that vibe of that kind of alien-y type thing, definitely.
And they split up. We have a naked woman who is very sparingly not used for a jump scare, just looks out on the table and goes, "Oh."
He does have a good old.
She does disappear, and that's quite creepy.
Yeah, but that's
I
really like that moment, because obviously that is the alchemy character, and the idea that he's seen her and she's dead is something disturbing. So she's, you know, because we know that the tall man manifests as females. We know this from the first film, because the tall man is also the lady in lavender. You know, he is a sort of transsexual alien, it would appear, and he can change his form. So that's kind of telling us, and that Mike realizes that there is something off with that alchemy character, which does pan out in the end.
Is the interdimensional alien stuff, does that only really become clear in sort of the sort of prequel backstory stuff we get in?
It's in the first
explicit. It's in like the dimensions.
It is in the first film.
It's in the first film. Yeah, I mean that's all there. Okay. The red planet, the interdimensional. It's because when he was writing it, he was a teenager, and he went up to a cabin in like outside of LA, up in the mountains, to write the script. And he was a teenager when he was writing it, so he was basing it a lot on his dreams and nightmares, and it's got a kind of, I mean, it's a big kind of like sort of left turn, isn't it? Like sort of nearly 2/3 of the way through the original Phantasm script, instead of being a horror film, it's all of a sudden turns into, it's got this science fiction stuff happening in it.
I love the blend of like sci-fi and fantasy we get from these ones, and as you mentioned, the tall man able to don the persona of these female characters, as well as we can also confirm years later going on to inspire Dana Carvey's Master of Disguise. the speed at which he is Angus Scrimm, the original Master of Disguise.
but it's because they were wise enough to make sure that Angus didn't play all of the characters.
Can you imagine a different world where it's like, no, we need to give the audience a clue. Like, we can't magically just have
Mike Myers scenario.
Character. Yeah, literally, like put like a blonde wig on him.
So does that mean that Reggie had sex with the tallman?
Well, technically, that would be the case if that's But the thing is that if that's your reading of it, Don always liked to say he didn't ever feel the need to explain himself. But when we get to the end scene, we can talk a little bit more about this dual character thing. There's an interesting scene which was changed because they couldn't pull off the effect.
Explicitly, very heavily dry humped by the tallman in my reading of the film, anyway.
Heavily dry humped, head humped.
The tallman does strike me as that kind of lover.
Yeah.
Well, he's a wild lover. But the girl who plays Alchemy, or Chemi as they call her most in the film, Samantha Phillips, she really apparently loved doing that. It took them about 5 hours to shoot that sex scene, Reggie said.
Oh God, can you imagine the chafing?
Yeah, but she just couldn't keep a straight face. And if you look right at the end of it, she is actually pissing herself with laughter. If you look right at the end, she is finding it really funny. And
some people are into that. Some people like that humiliation.
but it is funny. You've got such a great you give such great head, Reggie.
Yeah, she's maniacal.
I love your head, Reggie. She says, "That's it."
I love your head, and then literally she properly does a yeehaw and a mind lassoing.
His head's just like all that going on, head action.
But I think also just the fact that because you don't expect Reg to be either a kind of action hero or a lover, it's so much funnier because it is that character this stuff is happening to.
He becomes almost a Bruce Campbell character, but at the moment without the swagger and the confidence that character has.
Exactly, but whereas you'd actually expect that the James LeGros character would be having like the sex scene with the girl, whereas he's actually just falls asleep with the Liz character that he's
psychically telling her that he loves her.
They just have a psychic conversation. That they're just good friends. They say they
we're dreaming.
Like this,
wow!
They don't have a big sex scene, do they? So
lovely.
It's just his face when she sort of turns around and says, "Oh no, we're dreaming," and he's like. Wow!
We're talking to each other. This is great.
Yeah. Wow! And there's no imagination to the dream. They're still in the bedroom. There's no. We're not in outer space. We're not in a castle or whatever. It's just we're in the same setting. Wow!
It's like one of those dreams you have that you just go to school and have a normal day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you wake up and you go, "Oh shit, Scott! No, it's all right. I'm 40. Don't worry." But before they do that, before we get into meeting Alchemy, who comes up very soon, just to finish off that scene where we're going through the thing we mentioned earlier on, we meet someone who looks a lot like the Liz character, but is actually she's got a bin bag on and she's shivering in the basement. Reggie finds her, whip the bin bag off, and she's got reverse quarto in her, like a big head on spine, comes out with the messages, here, go east if you dare. And then what I love at this bit is they don't even mess around. Reggie like goes out of the way. No, sorry, he says, get the fuck back. And then there's barely even a comma here. I think in the script there's no punctuation at all. He goes, get the fuck back, burn. Yeah. Literally, Mike has like a split second to step out of the way before he incinerates. I mean, again, obviously Reggie has taken lessons from the characters in The Thing. He doesn't pause for a second. Something's gone weird in The Thingish. No, I do have the dates that The Thing was before, but again, it has that vibe about it.
The Thing was way before. Yeah, that was
that 82. So 85. Like that visual that you get of like a human body with something uncanny, which has elements of a human to it, but also the distortion in the face and everything. It's really good practical stuff.
Yeah, it's beautiful practical makeups by Mark Shostrom and K&B, Berger and Nicotero. I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, it's got that wonderful 80s effects work in it. And remember that, those guys had all come fresh off Evil Dead 2 as well. So,
and the same, talking about Evil Dead 2, it has the spine and the long neck and the
So that's
much
Mark Shostrom's style at that point as well. That slightly exaggerated things in the faces, and it's got that real kind of beautiful 80s practical makeup work in there, which is I love that stuff. But I love the fact that he doesn't hesitate and burns her down. But remembering there's that little bit of voiceover beforehand where Mike goes and sometimes talking about the tall man and going to these towns, and sometimes he leaves traps for us. that tiny bit of voiceover, which could well have been at the request of the studio, who felt the need to explain stuff, whereas Don, so there might have been some stuff that got slightly changed there in his original version, but once again we'll never know, unfortunately. But there you go.
What traps does he leave for them though? Because that was never really explained either.
Well, that was one of them, isn't it? This is not the girl he loves. It's actually a tall man that like coming out of her back, and it's a kind of.
Yeah, like the Tallman he's King Cooper in him right there. Yeah. It's like the actual Liz you want is in another castle, mate. I'm just a reverse quarter here with a message.
Exactly, yeah. Go east.
Go east. Oh, for fuck's sake. Just these clues, like, Phantasm.
But the good thing is that they do dare. They do dare.
They do dare, because I do actually dare. I mean, nowadays with, cross purposes and these media adaptations, the Tall Man is perfect for like one of these extra inflated open world video games where there's the only objective is it's like Breath of the Wild style, get the Tall Man, but he's got hundreds, like 300 hours worth of objectives of going places where you'll go through some tremendous ordeal and be like, nah, not here. On you go.
Get yourself to Perigold, mate.
Sometimes he leaves traps for us. Sometimes he's not even here at all.
Sometimes he's part of my girlfriend's back.
I hate it when that happens.
But, Mike is especially pooped from this ordeal, and he has a lovely kip in the car, sleeps so deeply that they're able to drive through the night and pick up a woman called Alchemy, who politely sits in silence until Mike wakes up.
But we were speculating about the scene you didn't see, about when she gets into the car, like sort of treading over him and getting through the back.
It's a three-door car, Jake. How is she meant to get in without folding him down while he's asleep? Unless, of course, you said Reggie gets out of the car and she gets in that side, but
but
that's annoying for everyone involved.
But once again, though, if we read the film slightly differently, and that is the Tall Man, remember, it's quite an unusual character name, Alchemy, which is of getting into a kind of mystical idea, a dimension of something base turning into something else, so even that character herself. So how did she get in that car? If she's actually the Tall Man, did she just materialize in, because it's got that dream?
Knocking through the tailpipe.
Yeah. No, but it's that dream. It's the thing that Phantasm always was trying to do, was trying to create an idea of it being a dream. And I really like that sequence, because it reminds me of a bit in the first film when he's remember he's been knocked out and he's on the road and his brother's on the road as well. And it's this idea of a kind of link between them. And I think in the filmmaking, Don is trying to do this because there's definitely some kind of link between the Mike character and the tall man, which gets evolved over the series as well. So you could read it that alchemy, if she is the tall man, maybe they didn't stop and pick her up. And, you know, is Reg, this got that weird dream logic of the, you know, even though Reg says that, did that happen? Because, you know, half the time he doesn't believe Mike. And, you know, it's this idea.
Yeah. So you kind of like...
Whose perception is it in the film? You know, whose actually point of view are you actually getting the film from? I think.
And like you say, you're right. With this dream logic, quite often when you're having dreams in the real dream world, like, you know, you just accept that this, oh yeah, of course, this is my friend so-and-so, even though when you think back on the dream, they look nothing like the person you accept, or this is my house, but it's nothing like the build of your house. Yeah. But, you know, as a filmmaker, the clues are all there. If you think about it very carefully, everybody, if you spell alchemy incredibly incorrectly, it is an anagram of the tall man.
but for me, the reason the scene really works nicely is because, remember, he's seen her dead body before, and that dead body disappears, and we know that that's alchemy. We know we've seen her already, and we know she's dead. So when she appears in the car, he has already had a premonition of her, so he knows there's something off. There is something off about her just appearing anyway. It's a bit like when the box appears in the beginning of the film, you know, in the first film. You know, what does grandmother want you to learn? It's kind of, you know, do not fear. Fear is the mind killer. It's a, you know, this is the phantasm, the strange world of phantasm that is Don was always trying to put in this stuff which isn't quite logical, but it does actually feel more like a dream. And the studio were trying to iron that out in this one a bit, which is a shame.
And another link in the web as well, right, from the first Phantasm, fear being the mind killer, and that planet looking very June-y.
Yeah, well, with sci-fi influence, you know, of Don being influenced by sci-fi films, absolutely, and basically nicking the whole line from June with the box, and that whole scene, really,
just borrowing it.
Yes, well, it's a complete steal, isn't it? But you know, as Coppola said, if you're going to steal from the best. So it's always a smart move.
Or when I ever think of the influences of the directors, it's Adam and Joe pretending to be Guy Ritchie saying, he used a directorial technique known as copying.
Well, most directors nick stuff from other people. It's just can you get away with it is the question.
It's just fun influences and stuff. And I think it's such a, especially when you're talking about horror genre cinema, I think there's a lot of love in the things that you take from. It's not like this is an effective technique that I want to use. Like, it's not like a visual tick or something. I think it very much is, I want to invoke the feelings of this series or this character that I really love. I think very, very particularly when it comes to horror cinema, I think it's done very deliberately and very meaningfully.
Yeah.
You say that, but I also think that, you know, Mike and Reggie in these particular sequences, I think Supernatural, the TV show, I think we're influenced by this with the Chevy Impala and stuff.
I think you're right in terms of the way that vibe is between the two of them and having a super cool car. They definitely lifted, I think, that from Phantasm. But whether they did it consciously or not is an interesting thing, though.
I mean, even Mike, the character of Mike, looks like Jared Padalecki. He looks like the guy from Supernatural as well, which I don't know if that's a conscious decision or how much of that. But yeah, you're right, Jake. I think they were completely influenced for Supernatural with elements of Phantasm, definitely.
Yeah. But I suppose like Andy was just saying, with horror films, that horror gets influenced by horror, and the DNA of different things seems to get influenced and filtered as we go on. because of all of the influences of like the guys who work on Evil Dead 2, and those guys, like. I mean, we can wait to it, but you know about the Sam Raimi cameo, or do you want to? Will we get to that at a certain point? And I can tell you the story about that. But that feeds into what we're saying here.
This one was far better connected than I ever imagined it could be. So we meet Alchemy. Mike gets out the car and goes, "Oh, bloody saw her. She was dead. She shouldn't be with us." And,
no, they fold him down and then springs back up again.
Gets out of the car. He says already, like, she was with us, she was dead. She, for her own safety, shouldn't be with us. It's okay. I'll take that on board. By which I mean ignore it and crack on. I will get her to stay at home when we go on a dangerous mission in a bit. But meanwhile, Liz's granddad is he's only been killed, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's died. Is this the bit where? Oh, I tell you, it is. It's the possibly the worst time to ever try and step in to have a word with the vicar, isn't it?
The worst.
Yeah, that is actually quite nasty for the grandmother, isn't it?
Yeah, the grandma's thinking, oh, I should really I should really chat to the vicar about what what picture we want to use on the order of service. And the vicar's gone.
Remember, it's open casket, and she's probably thinking, "Oh, could you close the casket?" She goes back in, and he's like about to stab.
Look, we're all going back to my place for a cup of tea. Do you want to?
Do you want to come and get some prawn crackers with us, or some snack?
Prawn crackers.
Whatever the little snacks are afterwards. I don't know. It's not a very well attended funeral either. You know,
Jake, it's pink wafers at a funeral.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the custom is.
Pink wafers.
But it's actually quite a brutal moment, though, isn't it? When she does go back in, and she, I thought
just as the vicar's had a quick word with the Lord and said, "Actually, I can't deal with this heresy anymore. Gonna stick a knife in Granddad's head."
And also, Lord, you're really tall.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, the tallest of the lords.
No, but Jake, that moment actually, when he actually does it and he gets caught out, there's that really great shot where the priest just turns around and he pulls that face like,
yeah.
And it's just brilliant.
It's good.
It's good. Super well done.
Yeah, but also that actor Kenneth Tiger, he looks like he was born to play priests as well. He just looks like,
I'm sure he plays priests in other films as well.
Yeah,
surely
he is to priests.
But I was having
Castle Flake was for big game hunters.
Yeah, but he pops up in Avengers Assemble down in 2012, and he plays German old man. So
is he the guy that?
Oh yeah, he's the guy who's bow down to me, not to men like you. There are always men like you. That's him from Avengers.
Yeah, that's Avengers.
Insane. He stands up to Loki.
That is German. That is the Kenneth Tiger. Yeah, there you go. See, he's he stood up to the tall man. He stood up to Loki.
He's always had strength of character.
Yes. A legend.
He'll stab a granddad in the head as soon as he will, but he will not kneel to people. He
was also in the X-Files as Dr. Plant as well.
Oh.
Can't remember what episode that is, but
do whatever you want with that. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking about the X-Files earlier, so
It's a good link. It's a good link.
Yeah.
Did anyone else think of a plant as well when you said that?
Yeah,
that was just a character name, so I don't know.
Yeah. What's
Audrey 2?
Next? Audrey 2, yeah.
So after the priest got busted sticking a knife in Granddad's noggin,
yeah,
and Nan's fainted, like very keeping up appearances like style, like when Hyacinth gets like scared by that dog, falls into the fence. But then next thing you know, the mortuary assistant is there doing his business and Granddad's at the door looking through the peephole. And then before you know it, he's back in bed with Grandma and she gets bloody grandnapped. She gets grandnapped, and the next thing you know, Liz goes around the house and just gets a little message from the toolman, because he can, a bit like we learn at this point, I guess, a bit like Mike, he's got he's got our ICQ number. He can send her those messages anytime he wants, and he says, "Hey,
come tonight.
Do you want your nan back? Oh, please, come here then." If the toolman does not, I mean, we know this because this is his MO with Mike and Reggie. He doesn't. At least he's living in his own life in the same way, going around the houses, rather than kidnap Liz directly or go and get her.
I've already been there once. I want to go back.
He's literally been to her house though, so he could have just gone and got her. But he goes, "What I'll do is, I will get her granddad and turn him into a zombie, who then can kidnap her nan for me, who I can use as collateral to get her to come to me, so I can set a trap for her."
Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
I mean, he's an alien.
That makes sense.
He's an alien. Maybe that is the most efficient way to do things in the Toolman dimension.
That's what they do on that planet.
He's having fun.
Still the
He's having a
granddad.
good time.
Yeah.
It's probably like an old proverb there. As we always say on Dusty Red Planet of the Small People, sometimes to get the girl, you have to steal the granddad and use him to kidnap a nan. Yes.
Maybe it's easier for if it's an older person, maybe it's easier for the crushing them into the dwarf situation, because remember, their bones are maybe a bit weaker. Maybe maybe it's an easier thing. So
lower bone density.
But we do get the lovely moment where the Liz character does get reunited with the grandmother, don't we?
Yeah.
It's
in a little bit,
beautiful.
Sorry, Grandma.
No, but she's a dwarf.
Yeah, she's a
No,
dwarf.
Ben, you did it wrong. The line is literally, "Sorry, Grandma." Like,
sorry, Grandma.
sorry,
Dwarf
Grandma.
now.
Yeah. So his agenda is set. Let's have a look here. Love not being able to read my own notes here. So I guess this is where like the film it has that dream logic, and it very quickly escalates as they all get together here. So having accepted the Tallman's challenge to go east, our heroes arrive. They set up like a Home Alone house for alchemy to say, right, there's a grenade in a tin by the window and like a cut of Budweiser can. There are strings attached to shotguns all over the house. It's like Wile E. Coyote trying to get the
buddy,
Roadrunner.
open window. Paint cans up the stairs.
Micro machines on every horizontal surface.
Christmas tree
tarantula
balls by the window.
I do think that this kind of setting up traps in horror films is a thing, and it's certainly something that he did in Phantasm 1, when Mike set up the traps with the shotgun shells and in his bedroom to kind of escape. Remember the bit of DIY kind of shotgun with a hammer, which actually you could quite possibly that would work actually on the kind of logistical front. But in the third one, the whole traps thing gets taken up another gear in the kind of Home Alone traps in the house thing. So there is this kind of little through line of traps in Phantasm, and they try and trap the tall man in various ways in the first one. With quite elaborate plans of like trying to trap him in the mine and covering it up, and the hanging tree sequence, which was excised and then appears in 4. So there's this idea. I don't know. They like this trap thing with kind of sort of homemade jerry-rigged stuff, which is kind of fun, isn't it? But that also goes back to films like Last House on the Left. The Wes Craven.
Wes Craven loves a booby trap.
Yeah, and that whole booby trap sequence it's got a similar vibe to it, with sledgehammers and like guns and doors. So I don't know. I think horror filmmakers like traps.
Yeah, I think it's a great leveler as well, right? When you have an enemy that's a great physical force that can't necessarily be overcome, it's good for a character to be able to take that power by like weakening them or getting them entirely by being smarter and setting up traps. It was a technique that would be copied by Sherlock Holmes years later when they looked at being able to plan these things in advance here. So yeah, like this is I love the trap stuff. Yeah. If only they'd done a bit where they'd attached a ladder. Maybe to be fair, knowing the Tallman's MO, because he does this in both of the films, as well as sending people around the houses, the other thing the Tallman loves to do in the pre-double glazing world is to wait, ready to punch a window through. Not when you're not looking though, only just after you've opened the curtains. And he times it to perfection, because what the Tallman wants to do is he wants you to open the curtains, then he gives it about a 3 count, because he wants you to see him be like this.
Give it the beats on the.
Yeah, he's got his
do the eyebrow.
Does his eyebrow? He's got his jukes up like like a Henry Cooper style boxer. He's ready for the door. He just punches the
Henry Dammer.
Yeah, and then he just biffs the window through, and he comes piling in, tries to slap me off out of it.
But before the curtains are opened, he's just sitting there going,
waiting anxiously.
Can you imagine this? Probably, I feel like maybe this is why Liz wasn't kidnapped directly. He'd been outside the house for a week, but she's just a really sound sleeper. She's like, "Is that a noise outside?" Probably nothing. Turns over, goes back to sleep.
What's even worse is that she was already in the house getting it on with Reggie.
Oh, that's in a little bit when he does come to the window. Because at the moment,
okay.
First,
I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
The lads have to go to the place. They've gone east. They've gone to this town, and this is where they leave alchemy in the house.
Perigold.
Yeah, Perigold. So when they're in Perigold, they have a look around, and this is where, after a little bit of running around and fighting some of the, who are the people in the dog masks? Do you call them diggers? They're like dog-shaped.
Yeah, like they're kind of like the grave. I don't know what they call them.
Maybe because of gravers.
Maybe they do have a name. You're right.
Yeah. They're not the little people. They're the big grave men that have like
they're the taller people.
I can't remember that. But
I think he looks at them through his binoculars and says they're gravers. I've dreamt about them actually. And
I've dreamt about them. It's fine. I know everything about him.
And we sees him, and we have a little bit of a battle with them, and then they sort of they run around and have like a bit of an encounter. I think this is where the priest took a strangling? You get like an inverse cross
with the rosary, kind of bit of psychokinesis rosary action.
Yeah, because the priest who stabbed Grandad in the head has another face off with the tallman, and he goes, "What are you doing?" He says, "Actually, the priest is wandering around in the mausoleum, and the tall man busts him, and they have a bit of a standoff where the tall man goes, 'What are you doing here?' And he goes, 'Should ask you the bloody same question. What are you doing to question the?
What is this? Last of the summer wine?'
Yeah, command of the Lord." Yeah, and they have a little bit of a standoff, and then basically. The priest says, "Yeah, I'm imagining God as being small, have you?" And he goes, "Well, I haven't actually, but guess what? he uses psychokinesis, and it's a great, because of the religious iconography, and like, he's been hung and the cross is upside down. Really, really cool stuff. Not enough to kill him though, just to make him a bit poorly.
Oh yeah.
Is that when he comes up with his famous line as well, Jake? You think when you die, you go to heaven.
You come to us. So yeah, but that's echoed from the first film, isn't it? I mean, he's so yeah. I mean, that's he does that brilliant line, and it's that good face off the classic kind of.
It's great. That's the bit where he does it. I think where he's being strangled
versus the priest, and I mean, it's a lovely image with the inverted cross lifting him up.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever actually owned a rosary, you'll know that it would snap within seconds because they're really weak. Like it would never.
No, priests get the durable rosary beads for extra hard praying.
Yeah,
as a kind of goth in the 80s, I had a lot of rosaries, and believe you me, like even the expensive ones, they could never hang yourself by a rosary. They're not good for that purpose. But it's a brilliant image, though. I absolutely love it.
I think they're never going to sell you one that strong, Jake, unless you show them your church card. They'll be like, "Yeah, you can get robust civilian ones."
God is a tall man. Yeah, we could help you out if you.
If you go in and if you go to the rosary shop,
that's because suicide is considered a sin, isn't it? So that's why they're made suicide proof.
Always suicide. They need to know you have enough faith not to attempt that. So if you go into
the rosary people shop, just pray too hard when they're fumbling the beads.
They need to be really, really robust. So if you go into the rosary shop and you say, "I'd like a strong rosary, please." How strong? Strong enough to theoretically hang myself after death with?
Yeah. Have you seen Phantasm
after
II?
Death?
Phantasm II, that model.
I need that model. All right, I can sell it to you, but only under certain circumstances. How tall do you imagine God to be? What's the biggest number, mate? Because that's how big. You go, all right, then here you go. Here's one. He only strangles him for a bit, but he doesn't kill the priest at this point because basically our silver phantasm balls need a bit of a workout. So he kind of walks off, I guess, to switch the balls on because we see them coming out of their box. He plays his little flute like Wonka, and they come out ready to.
Can we call them spheres? Because when you say he gets his balls out, it just doesn't sound great on the podcast.
He gets his shiny balls out. Oh.
And he's got 3 of them.
But once again, it's a great box that they come out with. If you look at that box with the 3 balls in it, it's kind of like a child's coffin. It's a baby's coffin, I think, actually.
Oh.
The design of it.
Wow,
so it's actually quite a freaky prop, actually. You know, and it's got the kind of phantasm sound, hasn't it? When the priest opens it up, it's got that. You once again that eerie thing. So you know,
it's creepy as hell. But then it has that bit where it opens up at the front, and
it's great though, isn't it? And they come out, you know,
it's like 3-stage movement, and it's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, really nice bit of kit, and unfortunately, real life horror as well. Because I hate the feel of that material that's in the bottom of that box. Oh, it makes my skin crawl just thinking about touching it. Oh, gonna bite your fingertips off. But yeah, like the balls, he unleashes the balls. The spheres are released like the lottery, which would go on to inspire the way the National Lottery works in the.
That's where the lottery came from. Phantasm.
Phantasm. So we can't rip off. The balls can't be silver. But...
I don't know. It'd be good if the balls killed the contestants, though, wouldn't it? In the lottery,
and if you got
happened
no
to Jim
numbers
Davison?
right,
then there are no winners for all of the people who entered the lottery. We've got the tall man doing the draw with his own balls.
It's like the anti-bonus ball.
His own balls.
So it comes out. The priest meets Liz very briefly, but unfortunately he does get a he has an ear off first, so he manages to move his head slightly. He gets nicked by the thing. It's only a little cut, but it does take his entire
it's only a little cut that takes his whole ear off.
It's a lovely revolving floating ear shot. It's lovely. You know,
it's very good. Like so that lands on the floor like a little scrap of bacon
stuck to the side of his face
with some kind of flying Cuisinart. Which is brilliant.
With that gone, then he gets it right in the mush, and he it does a cranial bore on him, later going on to inspire the work of Turok the Dinosaur Hunter 2, and it drills his brain right out of him. He does. I love when the spheres drill people, because it's a great. You just get a good old hosing out, don't you? Yeah. You just get it hoses all of the gunge out of him, and the actor playing the priest does a good fall. The stuntman who did this bit really commits to a solid fall over in this. I can't express enough how good that fall over is. It's a proper no resistance thump.
Yeah, it's a proper right on the floor number. So, but I mean, you know, with Phantasm, you're just waiting for the spheres to turn up, aren't you? And when they do in 2, he's saying, well, we're going to make everything bigger and better, and we've got, you know, we're upping our sphere game here as well. So you've got 3, so we know that we've got you know, and we see that there's a bigger golden one as well. So we're thinking, hold on, Golden Balls is back in the game. So what's going to happen with that?
Just for Carrot's Golden Balls.
And this is obviously a pre-Beckham world.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is Phantasm 2 would go on to inspire both Jasper Carrot's quiz show hosting career of Golden Balls and David Beckham.
There is something very Phantasm-like about those balls in the Jasper Carrot thing, isn't there? They really are.
There is.
You know,
and they destroy just as many lives. If you've ever seen any clips, international listeners, if you want to watch,
share or split.
If you want to watch
it's brutal. Possibly there's that one which is absolutely brutal.
The worst of humanity, probably that make the tall man look like a lovely man. Well, at least he tells you he's going to get you. He doesn't stab you in the back. But this program, where you can split or share the money, my goodness, I've seen some darkness in humanity.
Those set of balls were the tall man's psychological capitalist balls that he unladen on the world in a different form of attack.
Yeah,
Saturday night entertainment.
Yeah, he's gone for the daytime unemployed crowd.
Yeah, scum.
Yeah, so before he did that, right now he's just.
That's me right now, for God's sake.
No,
that's literally me.
The balls over there.
The tall man. Jasper,
it's
actually.
Homes Under the Hammer of Dion Dublin is where I go to. Yeah. If you're listening to this audio only, then we'll try and describe it. But
I've got a couple.
Check out the YouTube.
What do you want to see first? Do you want to see? Sorry, if you want to see the book, here we go.
There you go.
Oh, look at that.
Phantasm.
It's a nice formatted book. I love the commitment to a good bit of art on the front as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great
nice.
Oh, that's lovely. Do love a good novelization of a movie.
Now, this is actually signed by her as well.
Oh, it is. Oh, wow.
It's a limited edition.
Very cool.
400 or 500.
Yeah, this is 400, 500. So it's a very rare piece. This one.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lovely thing. Look at there you go. We were just talking about our spheres.
Ah, Sphere of Death.
There we go.
Ben, I know you in these episodes and we talk about this stuff. It's been a couple of episodes where there's a book mentioned, and before you know it, you've got a new coffee table book with you. I feel like your Instagram in the next week or so, possibly before this episode's even gone out, it'll be like, "Hi, it's me, Ben. I paid an exorbitant amount of money
it's
for a
rare,
copy of
isn't
the
it? It's
Phantasm
rare. I want to be able to find it.
But look, from the back, young Mike Pearson has a problem. His brother Jody is about to hit the road, and 2 years after the tragic death of their parents. So I won't read the whole thing, but it's got the synopsis of the writer there. So it's in really small type though, so I need a bit of a lighter run. But also, this is what I bought from the video shop in the 80s.
Oh my God! Look
this
at that.
This is a preset. So that's just a sticker there because this is a preset. And look at this case. I mean, this is a.
It's like a cassette tape.
Yes, it is like it's a hard plastic shell. This one. Like it's an interesting.
That's grand.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's this is the original copy of Phantasm that I watched in the 80s that I then bought from the store, from the video shop.
Wow.
Has it been watched recently? Or do you try and keep it in?
I haven't watched it recently because it's it's just watching it off VHS. Let's say this is the original sleeve there, so it's not even it wasn't even a full kind of size sleeve for this back in this kind of case.
It's in good quality though, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean it's a lovely thing. So yeah, my love of Phantasm started many years ago.
Oh, that's grand. And already I know that Ben's gonna have to pay a pretty penny for his copy of Phantasm. While we were just looking there, I had a quick glance on eBay to see if I could beat him to it, and no novelizations available right now.
I just look for novelizations as well.
Yeah.
It turns out we're all bidding against each other.
There's only 500 out there, guys.
And we only know where one of them is.
Oh yes, we do.
Don't forget to lock your doors tonight, Jake.
I've got the soundtrack as well, which I showed Aaron the other day. It's actually a promo copy of it, which was an amazing. It's beautiful as well. It's a beautiful thing.
So now you've created this desire for this novelization. You're going to hear a noise outside your window. You're going to throw your curtains open. It's going to be Aaron ready to just punch the glass through.
So it's stored in my safe.
Jake will be asleep under his Phantasm duvet in his Phantasm pajamas.
Phantasm nightcap.
You'll hear a noise, put on his Phantasm slippers, come running down the hallway.
And it'll be the three of us
It'll
be the three of us in a long coat trying to appear as the tall man. It's me, Jake, the tall man. Surely you would give me a copy of the book.
Aaron has a really brilliant Phantasm T-shirt though, which I haven't got that. But you've got.
I do. I made it myself because I couldn't get it.
It's fantastic. I mean, I've never seen a Phantasm T-shirt, and his is fucking brilliant. So but you made it.
I'm not wearing it today. I'm actually wearing Fright Fest. But
have you got it to hand though to show everyone? Have you got?
I don't. It's next door. And
is it in the washing bin?
No, Alice is in there. She's gone to bed. So if I go in there to get the Phantasm shirt, she'll probably get the shotgun out and shoot me.
I'm just getting a Phantasm shirt.
There's booby trap on the door, so you've got to be careful going in.
Yeah, let me see. 2 seconds. I'll see.
Hang on.
Oh, he's got to get it.
If we
never see him again.
Yeah, and Aaron split up with his girlfriend tonight after the shirt incident.
That's a first. That's a first for Horror Hangout.
So did you do one with Kevin Martin then before at the lobby?
Yeah, we did. We did a Night of the Creeps episode. I think it might have even been like
he would have loads of stuff as well. So I've got more Phantasm bits around, but it's just finding it.
It was pretty much exactly the same as that. Every time we mentioned anything, he had
within like reach because he was in his video store when he did it, and he had
it's amazing that shop, the lobby, amazing.
Night of the Creeps was running on a TV behind him.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. Look at that. See, look at that.
That's a good shirt.
Oh, wow. That's
cool. that is the big.
I thought for a second
nice.
Aaron was going to come in and had changed into it, like he was going to do a fashion show again for the people on the audio. People on the audio, he has just held the.
And wearing this delightful little number, Phantasm.
Who's dressed you tonight on the red carpet?
Where are we at?
Angus Scrimm.
Where are we at with the film? What
after this little battle that we've had, the priest got and our heroes have a couple of battles with the gravers, I believe they're called, in this mausoleum, and then through the events that unfold here, they basically find each other. So Mike runs out and hides in a grave, only to find Liz doing the same thing. They kiss immediately because they've been dreaming about each other for a little while.
It's a great first date when the girl of your dreams falls into an open grave.
That's how dreams go, isn't it? You meet people.
You know when you say, "How did you meet that person?" and somebody has a cute, funny little story. That's
an open grave. You never guess what.
That's an open grave.
There are one hiding in a grave.
It does build into that dream logic as well, though, isn't it? Because you do meet people. It's meet people. You do imagine people.
How do you dream?
Yeah, you do imagine people in dreams. It's like, oh, they were really great. What a wonderful person. Oh no, entirely fictional. I have concocted them, and they do not exist. At best, they are a composite of several people that I've met.
Well, either that, or you're a dream warrior.
Yeah. This is when you reveal that in your dreams you're a wizard master.
In my dreams, I make Phantasm t-shirts.
My girlfriend is not furious with me for barging in to wake her up.
My girlfriend's not furious when I try and get a t-shirt from there.
But that they are fine with this though, so they have a little bit of a kiss. Reggie turns up and goes, "Hey up, who's this?" So it's Liz actually. You know that girl you kept telling me was imaginary and just a big wet dream earlier on? Yeah, she was real actually. Because well, my girlfriend's real as well, and she's not going to turn out to be the tall man. So there, let's go back and see them. So they go back to the house. This is where we get the scene that we've already mentioned, where Liz and Mike sit in bed, and I'm not going to say it's too soon. Because they have been dreaming to and at each other for a little while now, but they're in love, and they're both comfortable saying it. So good on them, I say.
Too soon? No.
You live in your life one day to the next. The tall man's setting traps for you.
That's true.
People are getting sphered all the time. You gotta leave nothing unsaid. So they love each other and have a bit of a kiss. Meanwhile,
in a dream.
Yeah, in a dream. Meanwhile,
wow.
Reggie's getting dry humped to pieces while, he's
dry humped to pieces.
Yeah, he's
dry
humped and left of Reggie now.
He's having his
his house.
rodeo sex.
Yeah, his crotch has been chafed to custard. He's been absolutely sandpapered. He's been emery boarded right here. So she's,
Home Improvement.
Yeah. Tim Allen noise count 3. So that's what's happened. Again, a great comedy moment here, but unfortunately, a couple of noises at the house. The grenade they set up earlier goes off, and while they go to look at that grenade,
apparently there's a cut scene, an alternate thing where the telepathic love scene goes on a bit longer, and at the end of it, Mike says to her, "Well, that's about the safest sex we'll ever have," which was cut apparently.
Wow, okay.
So
I mean,
they did go for the gag, but it got cut.
And he was still pulling that face.
Wow, this is great.
This is great. I got to find that face. Sorry. Continue. I need to find his face.
That's your new background that's going to come in.
It's going to be, whenever Jake calls me, it's going to be that face come up on my phone.
Wow, this is great. I don't need to phone you. I can just use my telepathic link.
Oh, yeah, of course. This is great.
We're dreaming right now. Yeah, I imagine, as biology works, even with these dreams. So Mike's waking up in bed, his jeans fully creamed at this point, while
Reggie's bloody stump of
it. Reggie has been almost halved at this point. He's been sanded down to a nubbin. and a noise of a grenade going off downstairs. As grenades go, fairly reasonable. It's not too loud for a grenade. But they go to investigate downstairs? That. Yeah. Is that a grenade downstairs? Are you having loud, uncomfortable sex? Well, it can be two things. The grenade goes off. They go to investigate, and unfortunately, while they're doing that, the Tallman's at the window. Liz makes the mistake of opening the glass. He thumps the window through, and she gets slurped off out. So they've only just got her, and now, arguably doing what he should have done at the start of the film, the Tallman's actually just directly kidnapped Liz. So
Liz is special, like Mike. Remember?
Yeah. And he sellotapes her mouth closed, and he's getting ready to. I guess, is he going to kill? Does he intend to kill Liz and Mike in a special way, or is it the case of he's going to do the same? Is he going to, just turn them into zombies?
Well, I think you need to carry on watching the series.
Oh no!
Oh, okay.
But in terms of what the Tallman's intentions actually are for Mike, is a different thing. You see, so I think you need to carry on. But it's not like you'll ever have a definitive answer to that, because, like Don says, he always wants things to remain a mystery. But there is always a little bit more at play than you think in the Phantasm world.
Okay.
But 2 is more, like I say, it's more of a. Phantasm 2 it feels a bit more kind of literal in some of those moments. Like the kidnap feels less sort of metaphorical, as you might find as it goes on in some of the later ones. But there's some amazing moments. We've got to do 3 and 4 at some point, so we can really.
I think we should do 3 at Christmas, because it's like Home Alone.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'd lock that in right now.
Then if you guys are up for it, we should return to this, and then you can see how you feel as the Phantasm evolves for you as well.
So let's just finish the series.
Yeah. Because obviously I love it so much, and the fact is I know that Aaron hasn't seen 3 and 4. Ben, I don't know if you have.
No,
you?
I haven't.
Yeah, and you haven't either. So I'm excited for you guys, because I love it. I mean, because it's so much fun as well. You're going to have a blast,
or a Hangout Phantasm special.
Start going back to being weirder and even crazier than 2, which is pretty nuts. But it's still, by Phantasm standards, it's quite straightforward.
Oh, please lock that in, guys. Phantasm 3 Christmas special.
We're happy to.
I'll wear a Christmas jumper.
Oh yeah,
and a tree and stuff and a hat. Phantasm 3 is now going to be a Christmas film.
Yeah. Well, it's for us.
Yeah, for us.
It's not Christmas, but we can make it a Christmas film.
And by having that confirmed, then Aaron, that means you're secured to watching the 3rd one.
That is true. Pizza again, Jake?
Absolutely. I've got it ready to roll whenever you want, mate. I love that.
He's queued it up on VHS.
Well, no, but when we were watching One Missed Call, I was thinking, I wish we were watching Phantasm.
To be fair, I was thinking that as well.
Yeah, because I did enjoy One Missed Call, but when it started going off at some strange tangents, instead of me enjoying the strange tangents in One Missed Call, I just didn't understand what was going on. Whereas with Phantasm, I may not understand what's going on, but I always really enjoy it because it's really, really fun. And like I say, what Don has is he has that completely unpretentious thing, and you can just enjoy his stuff because the characters are always so much fun. There's a real sense of bonhomie about the Phantasm film. So
are you the kind of person who always thinks, I'd rather be watching Phantasm, no matter what you're watching? Bake Off, Strictly Come Dancing. Phantasm, I could be watching that.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of those things you mentioned, definitely. I mean, that probably is a thought in my head quite a lot, but but Strictly Come Dancing.
I know what you mean.
It's no Phantasm, is it?
It's no Phantasm. It reminds. I know
later on BBC One. It's Phantasm.
I know I've mentioned Peep Show already, but there's a scene in Peep Show where they're watching some theatre, and they go, "Why are we watching this? We could be watching Heat. We could be watching Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and Heat. I'm going to pretend I am watching Heat."
They should just
love that.
The word Heat with Phantasm, and that's me.
That's it. That's you.
Yeah.
You're like, are you enjoying this theatre, Jake? Are you pretending to watch Phantasm again?
No. I'm actually watching Phantasm 3 right now.
Yeah. You can't control my brain.
Oh dear.
Where are we at next, Andy?
So
where we got to?
They tool up, they're getting ready for a final battle, and things spiral here. We're going into what is an action sequence that will take us towards the end. So they go to try and they leave Alchemy behind. Said, look, just don't do anything unusual, will you, Alchemy? You stay here. We're going to have the final battle. And then what we have is it's probably easier if we, rather than go in sequence of the movie, because we flip between characters here. They arrive, and one of the first actions they do is put Chekhov's acid into his reanimation fluid.
Chekhov's acid.
Chekhov's hydrochloric or sulfuric acid.
Once you show a bottle of sulfuric acid, you know it's got to be used in the next scene.
Exactly. So they spike the reanimation / embalming fluid that the tall man uses to make his slaves and monsters. They pour that in. They pour this acid in there, and Reggie's out. Let's see him bring anyone to life with this shit, eh? So they do that, and then we are left to wonder as an audience member if that's going to pay off later. We'll come back to it. Then there's like a mortuary assistant who's Rongan, who's on the tall man's side. He's not with the little man. He's one of the he's a biggie.
He's a midman.
He's a midman. One of the midmans. I see.
And he is about to push Liz into a big old furnace to burn her up. But she sensibly rolls out the way. But unfortunately, he does not learn this lesson. He very much a technique that would be homaged years later by Charlize Theron in Prometheus, where going to the side would have protected her. And this guy, but he doesn't. He just doesn't even put his hands out to the side to stop him going.
He just screams.
Fire. He just goes, "Oh no!" and gets whizzed along the rollers right into a furnace. Maybe I lost track of this. Maybe the dream logic got me that he's all right there, doesn't he? He gets better from this, or is that just a very similar looking assistant?
No, you're thinking of Monty Python.
It's a very similar looking guy who
yeah, there's two very similar looking fellas.
Yeah, they're both kind of cadaverous, and they've got the kind of drawn in faces, and so they've got that kind of similar look. But the into the furnace moment is fucking brilliant, and then the hand coming up when he's locked in there. I mean, it's an awesome into the furnace moment.
I'd say probably there's a bit top of 3 into the furnace moments.
I think there's a bit of I'm trying to figure out what came first. So I think they might have been inspired a little bit by Halloween 3, because the henchmen in Halloween 3 were all just robots in suits and ties. So it's got a generic bad guy. If you're not sure what to have them dressed up as, all right, I've got my Oompa Loompa midgets or whatever we agreed to call them. And then we've got the mid-tier people who, what should we do with them? Just stick them in suits. Worked for Halloween 3.
Yeah,
maybe just a little thought there. If you're not sure what to do with a henchman, stick him in a suit.
Stick him in a Halloween suit.
But if you think of Halloween 3, you need Tom Atkins to turn up as well. That's Tom
Atkins and Bruce Campbell.
Oh my God.
If you invoke Halloween 3, we can't have a Halloween 3 conversation without Atkins being mentioned at least once.
That's it. If Tom Atkins rocked up in a Phantasm movie,
that would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's have him. I mean, come on, Atkins. Let's reboot it with you in it.
Reggie's brother,
Or he could be the priest's brother.
Yeah.
And his tiger's brother.
Or he could just play the horny guy from Halloween 3. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it could be the same character.
He's just going around trying to make sure all television stations are shut down.
Switch it off!
Traveling town to town.
Telling his wife he can't be there. He's going to a doctor's conference or whatever that fucking is.
Say, I'm going to a graveside service somewhere. Because it's always one that's about to begin in a Phantasm film.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, while this is happening, Reggie is having a chainsaw duel with another bad person downstairs. Right?
Very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw 2.
Yeah, it is very reminiscent of that. And a big chainsaw. The biggest chainsaw? No one needs a chainsaw that big, do they?
Depends on the size of the tree.
That's true.
But that is a big chainsaw, though, isn't it? I mean, it is ridiculously, brilliantly big, And
it's the biggest.
Lovely kind of sort of Reggie's inadequacies come brilliantly, and it's like a comedic facial performance there.
Oh, he really shines as Reggie in that scene. Just his face says it all.
It's also got to be one of the best backward climbs up a shelving system I've ever seen. It's fucking brilliant.
The only
seriously, check out how good that is, because that's an unusual wall that he's got behind him there. And
do you reckon he shot it forward?
He does it absolutely brilliantly while avoiding chainsaw bits. It's really great. And Reggie did all of that stuff apart from the jump at the end over it, which was a stunt double, he said. But that's the one bit they wouldn't let him do. So it was
they wouldn't let him do that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that actual backward climb is actually, if you check it out again, it is actually brilliant. Like, and the fear he has in that, and like the lovely moment when he thinks he's kind of lost his crown jewels, is that beautiful thing when his sort of belt thing comes off. It's pure Reggie reaction stuff. It's phantasm bliss, that moment.
I think at that point Don Coscarelli realized the comedy potential in Reggie.
Yeah,
like, that's a really, because I imagine, I've not seen them, but I imagine 3 and 4, that tone is kept constant with Reggie.
Yeah, but even when Mike sort of deflates him earlier on, when he goes, "You're just a middle-aged bored ice cream salesman," it's so kind of brutal. And Reggie's reaction, "Oh yeah, thanks, Mike." It's so
it's so specific. You're just a middle-aged, bold former ice cream selling guy. What?
But the truth is that we realise that no, he's not. He's a fucking action hero. This guy's fucking great. But Mike doesn't spot that at that point. So I think the audience is ahead with the Reggie character, because you really love him being in peril as well. It is brilliant, all of that stuff is so entertaining.
It's such a brilliant scene. And then meanwhile, Mike then joins back up with Liz, and we get some more hot sphere action. So the other henchman who is not in the furnace.
Yeah, that henchman is a guy called Mark Anthony Major. That guy, the second guy, with who ends up with the axe, and that's another actually brilliant moment as well. I think that's fucking. He does a great reaction shot there as well. There's a really beautiful bit of comic timing on his behalf. And interesting enough, that guy Mark Anthony Major actually looks a little bit more like Michael A. Baldwin from.
Okay.
Funny enough,
he does.
Yeah, so just as purely by chance, but yeah, he plays that really well, that guy. I really love his performance.
So his performance here begins with him. So the spheres that the tall man uses are.
Well, we've got our 3, haven't we? So we've got different levels of spherage flying.
So they're deadly, but not necessarily discerning, in that they get one of his own henchmen in the hand, and then it comes at him to get his head, and we assume this is the end of him, but maybe we'll see him again now. And we see him again pretty quickly, because again, we've been flicking between these action scenes. And as Mike and Liz are reunited, before you know it, this guy's back. He's used the axe to get one of his
but also
hands up.
Not just any axe. If you look at the axe, it's a hilariously small axe, actually.
Yeah. Barely a hatchet.
It's a hilariously small hand axe size, but it's really funny, the actual size of it. When you look at it again, it's kind of amusing, because it's not your normal brutal, it's not your big shining axe. It's just it's like a little hatchet axe.
Little hand hatchet.
He seems to get it off quite quickly though as well. He literally, as soon as the spheres come in, he just goes boom, and it's gone.
Yeah. And I reckon the reason it is a small axe that size, because Don would have realised to try and chop your own hand off with a large axe would be a really difficult swing. So a small hatchet size, I think that was thought out for that moment when he goes for the hand chop, basically.
Goes for the hand job, Jake.
We just see him with, if I could just reach my utility belt. So we have another encounter with them, and he's a poor, this is the first of several backhands across rooms that poor Liz gets. So first from this henchman, who eventually does get got by the sphere and actually ground up. He gets a sphere in the face the second time, and is
that's
gone.
Brilliant though. like the way he's rolling around and then stops for breath. Like it's almost like Tom and Jerry or something.
It's so brilliantly staged, and visually, it's almost the equivalent of the fly insect in the first film. The whole. I know it's different what's happening, but it reminds me of that. God, it's got that brilliant movement on it. It's a pure genius bit of motion, isn't it? And it's really, really funny as well when he's being kind of moved around up against the wall by that sphere.
Yeah, so it's totally played for laughs. That's for sure.
Yeah, but it's hilariously done. But remember that they were a bit influenced by Evil Dead 2 by this point, and that kind of slapstick stuff that was an influence on them, and that feels very much a Bruce Campbell type, slash. You've got those gags, and when we get to the gold sphere, the Ripper spheres, they nickname that on set the Rambo sphere when it going through those doors. That's pure kind of Evil Dead 2. That's pure Evil Dead 2 Sam Raimi-esque style filmmaking. That very similar to a sequence that Sam Raimi did in his ABC Murders, also called Crime Wave. If you've seen that, that's got a shot stuff going through doors, which reminds me of that moment in Phantasm II.
Because that's what they're being pursued by, isn't it? As they get, is it that sphere that comes through the door? Because they
basically, and the camera just stays with the sphere. It's just so good,
And then we close the slightly more robust door, which is when it gets through and eventually catches this guy.
And it does, right? Like burning through, and then you've got the Monty Python rat moment.
And then oh yes, with the
with the laser. What does the gold sphere do? Hold on, it's got a laser.
So this is all like one huge action sequence they get through, and our heroes realize that there is a door which basically has the same entry points as the spheres come up with. So
it's the keyhole. It's the keyhole, isn't it? You need one of these to open it up.
That's actually Jake's keys to his house.
Yeah, so the bug in your pocket. Right, just get my keys out.
Yeah, you should see him when he goes to the airport. He gets out a phantasm ball, puts it on the X-ray machine.
Yeah, I have to sort of throw away my severed hand beforehand.
Yeah, you have to say to the people, it has to be attached to a severed hand, otherwise it will start boring people.
But just before we go for the keyhole moment in the film, I think we've skipped the Sam Raimi cameo.
Oh, yes, tell us.
Now, remember earlier on when the morticians, they've got they've incinerated a body and they're smashing up the bones.
Yeah.
There's a very specific shot where they're emptying the ashes into like a kind of plastic envelope. And the camera comes up to the envelope and you read the label of the person who is the remains of the ashes, and it says Mr. Sam Raimi. Now that is because Sam Raimi wanted, Sam Raimi liked doing cameos in films at this point of his career. But Sam always liked doing a little bit of acting, even though he says he's a crap actor. He really liked doing it. And he's in the what's it called, Night Shift, which was retitled something else. The one in the supermarket, which I can't remember the Night Crew. So Sam had an acting thing, but he really wanted to have a cameo in Phantasm 2 because he knew the guys doing the makeup effects and he loves Phantasm. So he said to Don, "Oh, can I have a cameo?" And that Don couldn't he just didn't have a character that would work for him. So he said that Sam was quite disappointed by his cameo, which was just his name for those set of ashes. But for a horror fan at that time, all of these things kind of did feel kind of linked in the 80s because these horror directors were all making stuff at the same time, and they knew the same people and they were working in that kind of same environment. So it was a really beautiful, if you saw that in the 80s and that Sam Raimi moment, that was hilarious, in a sense.
Oh, that's a pretty cool cameo.
Yeah. So it's a cameo, but Sam was disappointed with it. Don says he was really annoyed. He wanted to actually be in the film, but that's the best he could do.
Well, that kind of goes back to what we were saying before, Ben, about Night of the Creeps, with the whole references like Dr. like Loomis and all these names are just sort of being thrown around, like making these films self-aware and stuff. And just by the way, when Jake moves, that's really unnerving when the ball moves with him. It's almost like it's moving.
Yeah, it's like the POV of the ball.
Ball cam.
Have an eye out.
Jake's ball cam.
See, Ben, this is why we say in spheres.
Yes, spheres.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry.
The kahuna's on that guy.
The kahuna cam. So we get into the keyhole now. They keep it attached to it. They keep it attached to a hand. They unattach it to the hand, and they manage to just pound it into the keyhole, and we get the door open, and we see, much like the first Phantasm, there
like in the White Room, the Space Gate room.
Yeah, in a move that would go on years later to inspire Stargate, of course, wonderful Richard Dean Anderson vehicle. Yeah, so they have a Stargate effectively, except less round. It's more
Space Gate.
Two posts,
dimensional forks.
Yeah.
It's like those little barrier things you get at Argos, but they're not connected when you got to go through the queue.
Oh yeah, it's like an anti-theft device outside a shop. But instead of setting off an alarm, if you've got any soft tagged items that have not been properly deactivated, you go to June.
You go to June.
Stuffed. Oh no! Someone at the supermarket hasn't detagged this bottle of whiskey, and now I'm in June. Great.
So what are in those barrels over there? Is it chocolate?
Yeah. So and Reggie's getting ready to burn up the barrels of chocolate. Except this is when the tall man comes in. He backhands Liz across a room, and he's taking names. Like, to be fair, if Stone Cold Steve Austin was a thing, his music would have started at this point. There would have been some breaking glass. The breaking glass, just like the tall man likes to do. He'd have opened the window, punched through the glass, there'd have been a shatter, and before you know it, he's getting tinnies thrown to him, and he's clearing house there. He drops a stunner on Mike, smashes him through the portal. Now Mike fails to hold on with his hands, but Reggie has got very versatile feet, and he manages to hold on.
Oh yeah.
Which is a brilliant. I love this sequence. It is fucking brilliant, hilarious, and terrifying at the same time. Actually, in the Red Planet, when you've got Ed Girl coming out of his barrel, all gloopy and kind of crawling.
Chocolate lady.
Yeah, crawling towards them, and it kind of like
he's just screaming his head off.
I mean, it's and I love the way that Mike is using Reggie's body to climb back through the gate and like treading on his face and everything. And poor Reggie's just left there with this little, nightmarish monster thing just coming towards him. And it's a brilliant shot, which I wonder if actually David Fincher nicked that for Alien 3 because of the bit where the alien faces off with Sigourney Weaver. There's that two shot, but that's the first time I remember seeing a shot like that where it's the proximity of the horror to somebody who really doesn't want to be right by it. And like I say, it's really funny because of what's just happened, but it's also then terrifying because that Ed Girl in that kind of full foam bodysuit it's a great image still.
So close and such a slow core. Reminds me of, we invoked this earlier on. We talked about The Haunting of Hill House. That scene where they're going down the dumbwaiter and that hideous creature crawls across the floor ever so slowly and comes in a really intense and long scene really close to the little girl, except this time covered in chocolate, looking like a bloody California raisin right there. Really, really close to them. And you say Mike's climbed back over. And I think this is established in the first film, right? On June, there's lots of gravity, right? Which is why the tall man...
That's why they're condensed. They're packed down so they can work in the gravity conditions. Yeah. So they that's the speculation in the first film. Anyway,
I mean, speaking of speculation, Jake, maybe you know this. Is it addressed in the later films? What work are they doing there?
Well, the thing is, that's never really answered, to be honest.
Harvesting spice, but he who controls the spice controls the universe.
There was some plans where Don wanted to do some scenes on the Red Planet in the second film, but they just couldn't afford to do it at that time on that budget. Maybe in Phantasm 1999 there might have been some more, probably of all of that stuff, but we never really got to know. So Don kept that kind of secret, exactly what the tall man was up to. But he was an intergalactic grave robber, shrinking down people into an army of dwarves to work on this prison planet or wherever else he was trying to ship them off to. But there is a funny story attached to...
Sounds like the Tories.
Where they shot, what they shot... The Red Planet was shot like by a dam or something. It's a place where there's just all these stones that go up to like a kind of infinity line, and then they comped in the skyline. but it's incredibly hot. It was one of the hottest days when they were shooting that. It was about kind of like 9,700 degrees. Ed Girl was in his full body foam latex bodysuit, and it's not chocolate. It's actually kind of it's a slime that they put on him. It's got a mephalose kind of. I can't remember the full name of it, but it's a slime. But because it was so hot, and he was like they were outside in the beating sun all day. He was on a little deck chair and he decided to have a little snooze, and this stuff started drying out on him, and the whole back of his costume ripped off when they woke him up. So that scene when he's with Reggie, he's angled towards the camera, so the whole part of the costume, there was nothing there. It had all been ripped away. So it's like this hilarious thing. You could on a film set, you've always got stuff which goes wrong. So you could say, "Oh shit, we've lost half the back of this costume. We've still got to film this scene." And you've got the scene with him slithering, so keeping his body angled as well to while this is doing it. But
on your back.
But because he is that small and it's a full body thing, it is really, really freaky. That I really do think it's a nightmarish image, particularly in that film.
I mean, that freaked me out in the first one as well. For some reason, I remember the first one being a lot more.
The creature like sort of naked, though. I think that's the difference in that. It's got that kind of like birth-like quality to it. It's a really great image in the Phantasm series. That particular moment.
And we haven't given, I think, the dwarf that they have they're due, because he makes them out of the bodies of victims, including, you mentioned it in passing, Grandma. And obviously after they've gone through their induction to the Tallman's workforce, now you've mentioned it as well, and it does sound like he might be the MP, like the Tory MP for Lichfield or something like that. But like they still have some recollection or some visual semblance to the people they once were, except they work for it's one of those things, isn't it? You get a bit older, you get a bit smaller and start supporting terrible ideas. So the Tall Man, as they're getting through this, as the guys are crawling out of this dimension, and they do get themselves back through, so Mike pulls Reggie back through as well. Meanwhile, the Tallman is about to embalm poor old Liz, but they work together as a team to get him. So what's the first attack? What does Mike do first? I know he gets sphered at a point here, but doesn't he attack him with something first?
No, he grabs the sphere and says, "What's the line he gives him?" He says he gives him a quip like, "Come and get it, come and get some, motherfucker," or something like that. And he has the sphere and lets go, and it goes into the Tall Man's head. And then
then he grabs the kind of embalming fluid piping, doesn't he? And stuff.
That's it. So as a team,
does he do that or does she do that?
I think it's either
dreamwork.
It might be Reggie, it might be Liz, but basically, yeah, you're right. So
Reggie switches it on.
That's it. So it's a teamwork for everyone. So first, Mike lets go of the sphere. It gets the Tallman in the head, and it squirts out a lot of his guns. But he's all right, actually. And a little alien arm comes out of him, out of his head.
Claw like,
oh yeah.
So it comes out.
And Mike sort of snaps that off because chucks it away.
Don't think so,
but Liz, having recovered from being backhanded and almost embalmed, says, she stabs the Tall Man with the embalming needle, and then, as you remembered correctly, Aaron, Reggie comes up and says, get somebody acid up you, mate."
It's exactly what he says.
Get some acid up you.
Get some xenomorph blood.
And he puts it on. Chekhov's acid that we saw put into the embalming fluid earlier on comes into effect, and he gets absolutely melted from the inside out.
He gets J-horrid.
He does. What horrid is this, though? Like, because obviously he didn't get cursed by a missed phone call.
He gets kind of blown up by his own acidic embalming fluid, doesn't he?
He got juiced.
I love the shot of his eyes when they pop and burst into yellow gum.
It's the bit where his hand, I like, where the
hand melts off. Melts off his hand and stuff. So once again, it's really good, gooey, gungy, like it is proper physical, practical effect.
Love it. What's the guy who gets toxic waste toxic waste killed in RoboCop.
Oh God.
Shit, yeah,
Oh.
Basically,
we can edit this long pause.
Answers on the postcard too.
Remember that name, because that's the verb that he gets happened to him.
Yeah,
he gets that name apostrophe deed. And then so that's what happens to him. He gets absolutely slimed off. And then good riddance to bad rubbish, our friends say, and they dust their hands off. And Alchemy has hot-wired a car, as you could do in the 80s. Can't do that these days.
Not just a normal car.
Hearse.
Yeah.
Ecto 1 itself. So she has hot-wired a hearse and turned up to pick them up just in the nick of time for the film to end. They all get back together. They even do a very sensible horror movie check where
check the back seat.
Where they say, "Is there anything in that coffin?"
Check what's in the coffin. Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, thank goodness."
Which is the smart move, though, isn't it? Because normally you think someone's going to pop out. So
but no, that jump scare has been averted, and then as they go back, we leave Liz and Mike to chat in their dreams a little bit more, and Alchemy puts up the privacy screen. Now, if this were if Reggie had made his full transition and was a James Bond character, he'd do a pun and get a gobby right now, and it'd be what a smashing time he'd have. Unfortunately for Reggie, not for us, this is Phantasm II, and she whips her ear off, and she's got a big missing bit of head.
Maybe he's into that though.
And has a good laugh, and she thinks it's very funny. She's having a good old laugh about it.
Now this is the scene where there was supposed to be more, but they couldn't get the makeup effects to work. What they wanted to do is that they wanted to carry on her pulling bits off to reveal her as the tall man underneath, but they couldn't make that work. So they then switched to that final gag. And when you see the tall man, and when you see him, you carry on going, and you can build us up to that moment, if you like, Andy.
Yeah. So so we see this happen, and then we just see the car suddenly stops, and we see so Mike and Liz see Reggie bashing at the window, going, "Oh bloody hell, it's all gone wrong. I'm right, Paulie," and he falls over on the floor. And very sad to see Reggie. As far as we're concerned right now, dispatched dead again. Cops it in every film so far. A trait which would be lifted by the makers of South Park with their character Kenny.
Oh my God, they killed Reggie.
They killed Reggie.
Oh my God, they killed Reggie. So again, so much inspiration from this film.
Basically,
everywhere.
Phantasm and Phantasm II in particular, as it seems, is the cultural cornerstone of everything that society has built since, certainly in the world of pop culture entertainment.
Including Star Wars, Jake.
Including Star Wars.
Yeah, if you retcon that, yeah.
So including all those things. So, and then it's echoing the experience had in the first one. It's the Tallman. He's back again.
Remember the privacy screen. It's the privacy screen moment, though.
Yes, that's right. And they go, "Oh, it's all a dream." And he opens the door. He goes, "Nah, it didn't." And he slurps it off out the window.
Because that makeup gag though didn't work of the thing where they wanted to reveal the tall man as Alchemy next to Reggie, because that gag didn't work. When the privacy screen comes down and he goes, "No, it's not." If you look, the tall man has got a section of bloody, like a whole bloody section in the same area that Alchemy had on her makeup there, which was supposed to be the last stage of that makeup, which they just couldn't go work. So, but that had been left in there. So when he says, "No, it's not," that's that bit why he has that on there, because he was supposed to be like the transformed Alchemy character. But obviously that end scene, they had to change the end scene, so he made it more like that kind of thing. That's a remnant of that makeup that didn't work though. So because no one's hit him at that point, there's no reason for him to have that scar there. But that's that.
I think it still works effectively to show that he might have been in disguise.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. This is one of those things where you could go, "Well, that's a bit of a weird thing." That when you realise that they just couldn't get that makeup working, it just gives you a different vibe on that moment.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, the only thing I would say about that whole scene is obviously we have prepared for an American audience here. I think we as a British audience would have been very difficult, even in a life or death situation that you'd be facing in a Phantasm scenario against the Tallman. Growing up as we have with the imagery and the culture that we're exposed to, if I'd said something was a dream and then a villainous figure had turned up and said, no, it isn't, I would have had to say, oh, yes, it is. I'm so sorry, the Tallman.
Oh, no, it's not. It's a Pango and Panto then.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And just keep going at them while you back away and escape. It's not a dream. Oh, yes, it is. You get more and more furious. But that's it. That's the end of Phantasm 2. We did it, everybody.
Hey. Wow. There we go then. That's Phantasm 2. Have you got any name game, Andy?
I got any name game, Ben. I've been on holiday. I'm replenished. I'm refreshed. I got 4 name games for you.
4 name games. Okay, I'll let you take the lead, and maybe I'll chip in with 1 or 2. Just to explain how this works, Aaron. Obviously, you're aware you've played this game before. Jake, we're going to give you a synopsis for a movie which sounds like / rhymes with Phantasm. And based on the synopsis, you have to give us the title of the film. Essentially, all become clear.
Okay, well, maybe you can play one with Aaron first so I can see how it...
Yeah, I remember the last one. I did, because Kevin was here for the last one, and Kevin was getting them all right.
He's a pro. What's the synopsis, which I may or may not end up following, depending on how easy it is to fit into alternatives?
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to follow this synopsis. So basically, it is Mike meets up with Reggie and discovers his dreams are real, and they both journey to find and stop the evil Tallman. That's right, Tallman, from his grim work.
Okay, in this spin-off of Phantasm 2, Mike, Reggie, and Liz actually take a bit of a back seat, and it's more about the trials and tribulations of Liz's mother's mother and her ordeals during the film during her kidnapping.
Nantasm.
I'd have gone Grantasm, but yeah, I'll give you Nantasm. It's the same difference.
Okay,
I'm gonna jump in with mine because just because it's on the same, it's in the same field. Mike and Reggie meet up and discover that the dreams are real, and they're gonna take on the Tallman. But said grandmother is in the back seat, and she's just distracting everybody by vigorously shaking constantly. Very off-putting.
Grand spasm.
I would say Nan, but Nan spasm is correct.
Nan spasm. All right, then I'll throw this one out to you then, everybody. So after really looking into how they defeat the Tallman and his nefarious schemes, Reggie and Mike discover that, much like with a lot of problems, the actual solution is just have a balanced high-fiber cereal for breakfast.
Oh, Grantasm.
Oh,
so quick as well.
Absolutely outstanding.
Got any more, Ben? Or don't we,
yeah. So Mike meets up with Reggie, discovers dreams are real, and they both go to find the tall man and stop his grim work. But Reggie gets involved in a sexual situation, of which he reaches his climax multiple times.
Orgasm
brackets 2.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Some people can have that. I mean, that's good on them. I say. I need a bit of recovery. Time. Any more, Andy?
I got another couple, Ben. Here's one for you all, though. So, actually, Phantasm, a spooky film that talks about the horrors of imagination. But in this case, in a feel-good story, a young man who, following a long obsession with a pop star, dreams he kills his girlfriend and unborn child by driving them off a bridge. But it turns out it was just a dream.
Stangasm.
Not gasm. You've got orgasms on the brain. It's just Stantasm.
Phantasm.
I said gasm again. All of mine have got gasm on the end.
Gasm.
I can't seem to not.
You combined this one and the last one, Ben.
Yeah.
Stangasm. He's had a stangasm. Okay.
Oh wait, it was me.
It was me. Oh, I love that. What a reveal. Okay, this film.
I've got one. How about there's a spin-off where
yes,
the tall man decides that he's going to reutilize repurpose his incineration units / what do you call it when they're cremation? His cremation, cremation thing. He's going to repurpose them into a more domestic kind of cookery kind of show, and using a lot of cheese-based products.
Oh,
do you know what that one is?
Oh, cheese-based products.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
I was going to say.
He brings out his freshly baked, very nice sort of spheric Phantasms.
A flan.
No, Jake.
Phantasm popped into my head for some reason.
You should have let it pop out.
But when you said cheese, I was like, oh, there's no cheese.
You made of cheese?
You have cheese in a flan, don't you? Cheese flan.
I prefer a flan.
But that cheese is in a flan.
I like it. Jake, listen to this. Listen to this one. Okay. Mike and Reggie meet up with their new friend, Jake West, and they go to watch some lovely theatre or anything else on TV. But for some reason, Jake doesn't seem to be paying attention. His eyes are rolling back into his head as he clearly
would rather be watching
is envisioning Phantasm. But what's he having? Because he's a huge something of one of these films. So what would you say he's having?
Phantasm.
He's having a phantasm. I said phangasm. I said phangasm again. I completely forgot the film's called Phantasm, and I've just put gasm.
Got gasm on the brain. If I was going
phangasm.
I was going phangasm. It would be what comic book movie fans have when they learn that who's playing Wolverine at long bloody last.
At long bloody last.
I've got one more for you, Ben. So changing his ways from condensing the dead into sort of worker drones. The Tallman actually helps society with its massive food waste and surpluses by getting a big cave that he can store surplus pork products in.
Surplus pork products. Ham cavern.
Yep. I was going hamgasm is what I'd gone.
Sure, it's not hamgasm. Sure, it's not hamgasm.
Yeah, just the hamgasm. Where do you keep? I mean, you've got your milk lakes, you've got your cheese surpluses in those massive warehouses, and then your meat products you keep in your hamgasm.
Don't forget about your cheese flan.
Hamgasm.
No more gasms.
It sounds like that could be a euphemism for something terrible.
It's what David Cameron has, eh? You know?
I can't come into work. I've got a cheese flan.
Okay, there we go. Right, now we need to rate the movie. A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. I guess we'll start with you, Jake. Are you going for rate good or rate bad?
Oh, well, it's definitely good because it's a Phantasm film, so that immediately puts it into a higher category for me. It is a really fun Phantasm film, and there's like loads of stuff I love about it, particularly the whole kind of Reggie's transformation into the action hero, and a lot of the really great fun stuff that is in this film. So for me, it's not my favourite Phantasm film, and because it's the one studio film and it's missing Michael A. Baldwin, I'm going to give it a B. I'll give it a B.
Nice, fair enough. Aaron, what do you think?
I kind of agree with Jake here. I mean, one will always be my favorite out of the two I've seen, but out of two I haven't and two I've seen, I do genuinely enjoy Phantasm II from start to finish, and actually seeing it with Jake was the first time I'd seen Phantasm with someone else, so it was even more fun.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I enjoyed that.
I wasn't thinking about watching another film for once. I was actually watching the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you didn't have to pretend to be enjoying.
I'm enjoying watching this film.
Oh, hold on, it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I'm going to be a bit more generous, and I'm going to give Phantasm a B+.
Oh, sorry, but well, I mean, I'll give it a B+ as well. But I didn't realise we needed to give it.
I'll give it a B++ if Jake gives it a B+.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, a B star.
Make it
yeah, I mean, it's a great fun film, absolutely. How about you guys then? Where do you sit on
what do you reckon, Andy?
For me, it's a classic. It's a classic me watching this. I think I sat and watched it, and I was probably at the top end of a C. My first watching, there are bits of it I perhaps missed, I hadn't like fully understood. But then what I've done is I've sat and talked to a couple of people who are super passionate about it and can point things out that I had missed, and also give me some more background into the creation of it. And then I think with every little bit of enthusiasm and with little bits more that you learn about it, my rating has crept up as we've gone, and now I'm solidly in B territory. And I'm so much more excited to go and watch the rest of this series now from this extra context. Just like little bits. Like I think you forget with films that have always been presented as a thing, as a finished product that you as a film fan can watch. You don't necessarily with those older films or films that feel that they come from established filmmakers in your mind as a viewer with the same element as the approach that, you know, when we were at Fright Fest, when I was meeting the people and I was talking about it, and I can see, oh, this is an independent film. So if there's something that, you know, you get to see a little bit more about what their limitations were and everything. I don't think we sometimes give films that were established and came out when we were much younger the credibility that they had the same things gone. So hearing about them just gives me so much more appreciation for a film. So I'm solidly on a B in this one, and I'm so excited to watch the rest of the series. And I think it's probably reached back through time and pulled up my thoughts on number one even as well.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's very Phantasm. You've just been Phantasm. Then
I have. I've retconned I've retconned my previous ending.
It's just like a dream that your first idea.
Yeah, I've been convinced, and I promise that in saying this, I'm not sitting here with a monologue going, yeah, tell them what they want to say, and then give it 1.5 stars on Letterboxd.
But Andy, and the same with Andy, and the same with you. In fact, with you all, because you haven't seen all 4 films. Like I say, it would be really interesting if we do 3 and 4. What would be really interesting is then to go back and get you to reassess it once more, because you'll be able to see it in light of the whole series. Or if we then did Ravager, then we would do 5. But the point is that will give you a chance to maybe reevaluate that again, because this is a series of films as well. So you need to see them all to really know where you want to place them.
Yeah, I think this is we're probably looking at bonus episode for a series ranking as well, right? Then maybe even get it on get it on the socials, and then maybe we'll have a live streaming. See if we can find the 4th one on an available service that people can watch along. We'll do a podcast watch along. We'll do a watch along live for number 4.
Oh wow! I mean, I'm only going to go for a C because I think it's the first time I've seen it. I would like to watch the rest of the franchise to see how it compares. I definitely did prefer the first one, but still, there's still a lot to enjoy here, I think. And listening to everybody have such passionate love for this film as well has definitely ranked it higher in my head, I think. So I definitely want to check out your documentary as well, Jake, just to get a sort of roundup on the franchise as well. So I will do that. But yeah, I think
don't watch it until you've seen all 4 though, because all 4 of them. So you
don't want spoilers.
Yeah, it will give you the major spoilers if you watch it.
Yeah, of course. There we go then. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Where can our listeners keep up to speed with Jake and Aaron online with any new projects you're working on?
New shenanigans.
Well, to me, I'm just like I say, just heading off to festivals with Mancunian Man. So that's just supporting that. But we are working on a couple of different things. I mean, I've got my long gestating werewolf film that I think I told you guys about at Fright Fest called Feral. Trying to get that off the ground, but that requires getting money, and getting money is the tough bit. But me and Aaron are working on a couple of little things, but we're probably not announceable yet. But you can talk about.
I wouldn't say so. I think it's too small to. I mean, there's nothing really there yet. It's until there's something a bit more tangible, I think. But I mean, it's no secret that I know Stuart's been saying it. I've been saying it that I am working on the script for Pareidolia, the feature film, and I'm working on it with Jake. But through that whole journey, there has been sort of research that's gone in different directions, which has actually made Jake and I think, actually, let's have a look into some of these territories. And we've just sort of gone off on a slight tangent, but the work on the feature film is definitely going ahead. And
Pareidolia is 100% going ahead for Aaron to make as his first feature. I mean, well, hopefully, or maybe his second feature, depending on what happens on the journey. but yeah, so it's always interesting. But we're collaborating on some ideas, but getting those ideas to a stage where we can present them and get finance and all the rest of it. That's the thing. But we'll let you guys know if once the journey kicks off, that'd be good.
Absolutely.
Socials in the show notes, I'm sure. Sorry, Ben, giving you work to do. These are ones to watch. Obviously, if there's things that are on the boil and are going to come up, these are people you're going to want to follow. Because
and of course we'll keep our listeners updated. With our horror news section, I think the first thing we like to do is always keep everybody up to date with people who've been on the show as well,
and connectivity as well, Ben. I mean, let's look at the past as well. Obviously, we've got more festivals and events and things that are coming up where people can see the guys' current films. But Jake, I can't have you on and not talk about some of your past
what would you like
past work as well. I need to seek out Doghouse is on my watch list right now, but also show connectivity, Evil Aliens. Emily Booth has been on the show with us in the past before.
Oh, there's
Razorblade Smile.
Razorblade Smile. Like
first film.
Get and check some of these out. Like one of my favorite things I'm doing post.
Evil Aliens was my kind of love letter to all the films that I grew up with, and there's some huge homages to Phantasm in that film. If you watch that film, you'll be able to guess fairly quickly what those are, because that was my love letter to all the from Evil Dead to like Bad Taste to that was just my film. So my teenage self. So that's my silly spatter film, Evil Aliens. If you haven't seen it, you can play spot the reference with that one, which is an interesting game.
And
Scream Cottage.
Well cast for someone who has any appreciation for British horror or sci-fi comedy as well, right? With your casting choices as well, brilliant stuff.
We had Norman Lovett in that one from Red Dwarf.
I need to go back. You know what? Now you've mentioned you've got Phantasm things. I don't think I have seen Evil Aliens more recently since I've watched Phantasm. So I'm gonna now need to revisit Evil Aliens. Get ready for a bonus episode anytime soon, Ben. As soon as I've got Evil Aliens back, I think I've still got a physical copy at my parents' house. I've only just visited them as well. I was a fool not to get it while I was there.
This is why it doesn't make sense for the tall man to go back to the house, like do it twice. That's why he'd get her to go to him. See what I mean? You're just umming and ahhing about going to your parents' house again. You've just been there. Why would he? Just going back to our earlier point.
What I need to do is kidnap an old man to get him to then steal.
That's how all your plans begin, Andy.
Kidnap and reanimate an old man.
That's what they do on Planet Dune.
Yeah, get him to go to my parents' house, and I don't want to kill anyone. So maybe just like hide their keys or something like that. And then when they go, and then when my dad goes, "Oh, where are the bloody keys?" I'll have a Quarto that pops out.
Here's my key.
Here's the key. I'll get a Quarto to pop out of it and say, "Oh, run Evil Aliens up to Andy in Scotland, would you?" He'd be like, "All right then."
I suppose. There we go then. Wow, that was a mammoth discussion of Phantasm II, as well as everything else in between. So thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find it. Next week, we're doing The Grudge, due on The Grudge with Sarah Appleton and Jasper Sharp. So prepare to get J-horrored.
Yeah, J-horrored right up you, everybody. Get on it.
You've got the right people, the J-horror virus makers themselves, who know more about J-horror than anybody else.
They could probably name... with encyclopedic knowledge, everyone who's ever been J-horrored ever. And And we'll ask them next week. We'll just sit them down and say, right, everyone's been J-horrored, go.
That's going to be the follow-up to the J-horror virus, isn't it? J-horrid.
J-horrid.
The sequel. All right, thanks everybody for listening. See you next week.
See you later. Bye.
See ya.